You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE LP 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
Yes, 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 yes. Let me say a special hello to all the WZYE 95.9 FM listeners. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And we come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm going to do something a little different here tonight. I'm going to bring in Tommy. Tommy, you're inside, boss.
Oh, yes, my brother. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Tommy. I'm trying to do a little thing a little different, Tommy. You're inside.
Flash, I see you dressed up very nicely this evening. That means you just came from work.
Yeah. I just come from school.
Yeah, no doubt. I was just listening to our friend from Saturday, Andy Johnson, on his show, right on WESN. He's interviewing a gentleman from St. Kitts Nevis because St. Kitts Nevis is under a lot of stress at this particular time. But be that as it may, we have our issues to deal with.
Right. Let me say a special hello to Diana Waveney Benskin McDonald. Diana Benskin, welcome.
I'm not in a good mood today.
You're not in a good mood?
Nope.
No. We had Darius Figuera waiting for you in the background.
Wait. I had my booster. I had my booster shot, so I don't know which animal coming out of me today. Ooh. I don't know if the fox, the bear, the mother bear, the mother hen. I don't know who. I don't know what coming out.
You got your donut job?
I had my booster shot, my Johnson shot today. You understand?
I like the red flower though. I like the red flower.
Yeah, that's what I put the red flower there for. I know you gonna like it. Don't stand for who you think it stand for though.
No, I never said. You see, I never said
it is not a balize flower. Let me fix you now.
I just said I like the red flower.
Let me fix you. They don't balize flower.
No balize. You see,
all right, good.
I ain't saying nothing. Tommy, you hear that? You ain't saying nothing but balize. I tell you, I like your red flower. Right? She gone. You see, let's go. She gonna talk about balize.
Why you can't just say I like my flower?
Waveney, don't be presumptuous.
Don't get me vexed today. Let me tell you something. Right now, I'm very annoyed, and I'm gonna hold it, and I'm gonna entertain Mr. Figuera. And when he's gone, I go in and jump on something here. But let's go ahead. Yeah. Good night in the chat. The storm vex right now.
You're gonna jump on something.
We gotta calm this storm down tonight.
Right now.
So pretty.
Thank you, Gary. Right now, I vex.
Gary, let me ask a question. Gary, what color is the pom-pom? I mean, what color is it?
Oh, God. The pom-pom. I like that one. Hello, I hear
that. Nuts thought it was a cock set. How you could think it's a cock set nut? What's wrong with you?
You listen to the fellas. Hey, Gary, welcome. Gary, what color is the flower? Let me say it correctly. The flower that Diana ran ahead.
It looks reddish to me.
Okay, so Gary, I said
between red and pink.
Gary hedging.
Yeah, Gary hedging, boy.
No, Gary, it's more on the red side. Was she gone red?
I told her she want a red flower. Nothing else.
It's looking red and matching up with the flag behind your head there.
Thank you. I have on a multicolored headpiece. It kind of nippy. I took my Johnson & Johnson booster. So all don't make the dinosaur come out.
You get
red is number victory. That means you're winning.
You're winning.
Huh?
So what particular incident upset the storm this evening now?
Wait. Yeah, Darius, you have to come. Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me just do some
Mr.
superlatives
Figuera.
quickly here. Yeah. Let me say, first takes, you finally do something good for the men. Eh? You was first inside, 6:17 p.m. But that's kind of late though. Yeah, them young ladies used to come in for something and you just come in. Boy, Takesha, you're inside. What acts?
Lana.
Huh?
Watch yourself, Ron. It don't look like no snow cone without milk. What's wrong with you? You go and get glasses now. Go drive that truck and get glasses.
Vonnie Roberts, you're inside. Little Ron Horner. Nadia, a special good night to you, Nadia. Carrot cake, you're inside, boy.
Who was on the face of Facebook UNC chatter? Who?
Who's that?
I don't know.
No, I know that. Troy Smith, you're inside, boy.
Yeah, red mean danger. Danger coming.
You see, Fishstick and don't start already. Anyway, Fishstick, I will deal with all it just now. You see that kind of misconception. I had to play Chucky some misconception.
I'm stepping out for a minute. I gotta take a look at caller.
All right, yeah. You see that misconception? We're talking about that summit and that pity and thing. We will deal with that just now. But let me bring in our first guest first, because I had to deal with all it tonight. I ready for it tonight. If all the thing Dana ready for you. I ready tonight. Dana, you think it's the storm? Right? I go be hurricane tonight.
No, it's a mother bear tonight. No, it's a mother bear tonight.
Let's welcome back Dr. Darius Figuera back into the village on WZYE 95.9 FM. Of course, Dr. Figuera, we want to say that, of course, it's in the village with the DAG Triplet. D is Diana. You hear Diana already. She's considered to be the storm. I am Anselm or Flash. Also, will call me Wall Street. G is Gary. Gary is considered to be the Phantom, and the other guy is Marshall Nesbitt. Marshall is considered the love child by the ladies in the chat. Dr. Figuera, welcome to In the Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM.
Thank you very much for having me back.
Welcome, Dr. Figuera.
Welcome, Dr. Figuera. Don't let my red flower distract you. This is just, for later.
No, it reminds me of a double shakonia.
You see, look at that. You see, look at that. You see, Dr. Figuera. I like that one. You see, she went way down by Tranquility Government Secondary School to the Balizé House.
But it's not what you say, it's how you say it, Anselm.
What should I say, Diana? That's a beautiful red flower you have there, my dear.
Yeah, Dr. Figuera says a double chiconia. See the beauty in the flower of the chiconia?
All right, next time I will say, but that flower look kind of pinkish red. Okay. So, Dr. Figuera.
Yes, sir.
There's so many things going on in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? Sometimes we don't know where to start. But being that you are a criminologist, right? Is that accurate? We can call you a criminologist?
Yes, that is what I studied.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, by the way, Dr. Figuera, how many books have you written?
At present, I have 13.
13. Wow. 13 books is plenty, boy. That's a whole lot of books,
I only write 3.
That is all I do.
Is write books?
Yeah, research and write.
Research and write. So here now, I on this program, right? And we want to get your feedback. I on this program more like to go from a factual perspective, right? And we look today in the news, they're talking about the TTPS is saying that there has not been an increase in murders in Trinidad and Tobago, but the former Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, has been stating that there is an increase in murder. Can you help us kind of decipher from your perspective, what you think is the truth or what you think is misinformation?
Well, the first thing we need to understand is that 2017, 2018, and 2019 were 3 consecutive years of rivers of blood in TNT that we never had before in our history, not even under the colonial massa. And that was the all-time high for violent bloodletting in our country. And then suddenly in 2020, we had this precipitous fall in the murder toll. And what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago today is that corporate media does not want to grapple with the question of why did it fall so precipitously. Gary Griffith gives the interpretation that it fell because of him. But the reality on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, the reality in the underworld, in the other world, speaks a different reality. That after 2020, in 2021, we notice, compared 2021 to 2020, we're not comparing it to the 3 years of bloodletting. On a comparative 2020 to 2021, you notice that there was an upward trend on the monthly murder toll levels 2021 to 2020. With this peak that happened in October. But the peak did not appear out of nothing. There was a momentum building towards it. And therefore, we have to, so even whilst Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police, the momentum was building towards a peak at some time. So therefore, we need to go to the ground to find out why was this momentum building that carried it to a situation whereby October month, we had matched the murder toll for the entire year of 2021, and we are now in a position where we have passed the murder toll for 2020 going into November of 2021. So that is the fundamental reality. We have to listen to the ground, interpret what is going on, and then present the reality on the ground to the wider society. But you have forces in the society who don't want that reality broadcast to the masses. Failing to understand is that the masses know what is going on the ground. The people who live in Wonderland are the people who supposedly of the middle class. They're the ones who live in Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole. But the masses understand fully what is going on the ground. So that is the position today. Because if you don't understand reality on the ground, you can't address it. You can't address that reality. You can't hope to impact that reality because you will be shooting blanks. And that is where we are at today.
You know, Dr. Figuera, you are an expert as far as crime is considered, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, I would say in the Caribbean, right? And I like to go based on facts because, I find that facts don't lie. You could tend to skew it however you want. So based on the facts in Trinidad and Tobago, in 2008, we had 550 murders, which was the highest in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
Right? In 2018, that was a split year between Gary Griffith and Stephen Williams. We had 516, which was the third highest in the history for murders in Trinidad and Tobago. In 2019, we had 538, which was the second highest in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. So if we look at murders in Trinidad and Tobago, and Gary Griffith said this, and I keep repeating this, Gary Griffith said when he came into office in August 2018, judged me based on the murder rate, right? That's what he said. Nobody didn't make that up. He said that. So if I, as an outsider, was supposed to judge Gary Griffith on the murder rate, Gary Griffith, and this is I'm not trying to make this into a joke, but Gary Griffith went to the Murder Olympics and he finished with a silver and a bronze. You know,
Thank you.
because he had his second and third highest. He was part of the second and third highest murder rate in Trinidad and Tobago. What do you say about that?
The first thing we must understand, we had a peak in 2008, and then it began to decline from 9 go straight onwards.
Mm-hmm.
The first time in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, we have had this momentum where we had 2017, which was outdone by 2018, which was outdone by 2019.
Correct.
And then in 2020, it started off hot and sweaty in 2020, and then precipitously just collapsed. So how do you explain that when you refuse to admit that the number one cause for the collapse of the murder toll in 2020 was the peace in gangland that appeared out of nowhere, which was manifested to the people of Trinidad and Tobago on the 30th of June 2020 with the protests that took place against police brutality in Port of Spain, where there were organized marches that crossed various gangland boundaries. Free movement of groups of people marching through the streets of East Port of Spain, crossing various gangland boundaries without a single shot thrown at them. So gangland sent a message on that day that there was now a new order and there was now a common enemy. And from that indication publicly to today in 2021, the peace has held. We have leaders and players in gangland fallen by the wayside, and there is no war for their turf. There is this seamless transition going on as if it is a corporate entity. And nobody wants to come to grips with this reality and explain it. Because everybody wants to continue with this fixed image in their mind that a young urban African male is a predator and a threat to the social order, and he must be neutralized with militarized policing. Nobody wants to admit that the whole rationale for militarized urban policing in the marginalized areas of Trinidad and Tobago, especially along the East-West corridor, there's no longer a reason for it. You have to get down now to hardcore policing. The policing have to change.
But Dr. Figuera, didn't people think that they were getting that type of hardcore change when Gary Griffith came as commissioner of police?
Yes, they believe that because you see, as long as you have it fixed in your mind, and remember, this fixture in the mind also has a racist hegemonist overtone, where you view the African as a political threat. So what you want to do is that you're looking for somebody to control your enemy. And we are not willing to accept that. That we coming from the colonial massa who marginalized the urban African and made them into a threat and a perpetrator. This has continued under independence, and it has gotten worse. The marginalization has been it got worse under independence, and now you frame this soul that you put over a young African male that he is a predator. So this is therefore now you put on a race of people a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sounds familiar?
Oh, you know, it sounds very familiar because when we have a commissioner of police calling people cockroaches,
Thank you.
you know, to me, listen, I believe that, and listen, we have other problems, some other people calling people all kind of names to it, but I believe that, you know, a fish doesn't rotten from the tail. You see, so when you are espousing this type of idiosyncrasy, you know, and you're addressing one people as that, you know, I mean, to me that's very unfortunate and uncalled for. You know, and you just continuing that stereotypical behavior, you know, and you're a commissioner of police. You want to work with these communities.
And it is entirely noteworthy, the evidence for this. Nobody wants to talk about the escalation in police killings under his 3-year rule. Nobody wants to talk about killings in which the police had overwhelming force in their favor in the majority of instances when it occurred. This is not instances of where it's 1-to-1 and the perpetrator is facing off with a single police person and both are armed. You're talking overwhelming force.
And it's all due to his utterances.
So then you have to ask yourself, was this constructed? Was this policy to tame this quote-unquote predator?
You know, Dr. Darius, it's interesting, right? Because this is how we just define politics in Trinidad, right? I'm going to read something somebody says in the chat, Troy Smith. I'm going to read what a guy named Troy Smith says in the chat. He says, Anselm, under all years of the PNM, most gang-related murders and kidnapping in history. Now, Dr. Figuera, who cares if it's PNM, UNC, ILP, DLP, CLP, GLP? The idea is that it's in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And what are we doing in Trinidad and Tobago to fix it? I don't care who's the government. We could always come. But listen, I could come here and I could tell you, listen to this. Stephen Williams, as a commissioner of police, was an excellent commissioner of police. And here's the facts. Under Stephen Williams, kidnapping went from 155 to 0. Under Stephen Williams, you see? So under Stephen Williams, when there was 155 kidnappings in 2007, when he came in 2012, it became 5, then 3, then 2, then 3, then 0. All right? And you see, because people want to look at this as he this and he that, right? And if they want to say the same thing here, Troy Smith, I use what you are saying. Then Troy Smith, based on what you says, Gary Griffith is an abysmal failure.
You see, in Trinidad and Tobago, the politics of race drives everything. And the whole issue is not what is good for all of us. The whole issue is keeping your enemy race out of control in the state. And everything becomes twisted with this race hate. So you make that type of statement, but you're not dealing in fact.
Correct.
And you're not dealing in fact, and you're deliberately not dealing in reality on the ground. So for example, you talk about kidnapping. Let me talk about a reality on the ground. Kidnapping started in Trinidad and Tobago within the illicit drug trade. when members of a certain race hired Africans to kidnap members of that same race who were hiring them to collect money owed to them. And those Africans learned the business of kidnapping from the persons who hired them who were not African. And then decided to go into the business on their own because they realized that there was money to be made. But the Africans got branded as predators, as kidnappers, who kidnapping this race. Because you see, in Trinidad and Tobago, my sister and brothers on the panel, everybody is a victim. Everybody is a victim. Nobody is a perpetrator. So the kidnappers now, because they are African, ended up now with the big stamp of K on the forehead, when nobody wants to talk about the fact that the entire drive that created a spiral of kidnapping in Trinidad and Tobago was started by members of another race who hired Africans to kidnap their own race. And they then became private contractors going out on their own.
But they don't talk about that, Dr. Figuera. I don't hear people talk about that.
Race has everybody blind. And that is why the predators run riot. The decent and respectable predators, number one on the hit parade.
So, Dr. Figuera, somebody just asked me a question here. Somebody says, Mr. Figuera, would you say broken homes, kids without fathers and mothers causes crimes?
In Trinidad and Tobago, the largest single contributor to criminal activity, and we're talking about in the marginal areas. We're talking about the decent and respectable who do it to get richer, because they are the kingpins in the marginalized urban areas. Society willingly allowed to be established in these spaces illicit organizations who took control of the streets. They took control of the communities. They became the power in the community. And they therefore became an alternate illicit institutions who was socializing the young people to adopt their lifestyle. And the only people who offered any form of resistance when they did arrive was the police. And they will enter and then leave, and the structure on the ground is intact. The politicians and everybody else just spoke, mouthwash, bumped their gums, but there was no intervention. And it reached a stage as they grew in power on the ground through the drug trade. The politicians then recognized that we needed now to include them into our web of patronage to hopefully now create a detente on the ground between these alternate illicit institutions and the politicians. Regardless of who won the election, they dance. And from the time they reached the state, and remember, they were so powerful in the second half of the 1990s, that is when the politicians were forced to sit at the table with them.
Dr. Figuera, what do we propose as a solution to get us out of this quagmire that we're in?
The single gravest threat to the sustainability of Trinidad and Tobago is the politics of race. We have, if we want to move forward, we have to stop this race babble that we inherited from Massa, which Massa uses to continue to dominate us up to today. Because it's two non-white races at each other's throats, whilst the minority races eat the dinner at the best table.
So here's a comment from Chris Watson, right? He says, in order for crime to be under control, race needs to come out of politics and stereotyping needs to stop. I think that's what you were just saying there, Dr.
Yes.
Figuera. Is that accurate?
That is exactly what must happen. And this continued marginalization of the urban African, that bears no fruit. And this insistence to the urban African that I have provided the means for you to break out of your community and for upward mobility and whatever, and just go to do this and do that and do the other. The fact of the matter is that it have two generations in these areas and buying that talk. They're not buying that talk.
Nope.
Because they know fully well that even when they embrace everything and they work hard and they go and they end up in a university and they come out with a first degree and then they go back and they get back a second degree, there is a color ceiling to their upward mobility because their race, the only oligarch their race had in Trinidad and Tobago, his empire is now in tatters, owned by the government, and the others waiting to eat it raw.
Oh God! Hey, Dr. Figuera, you see that one? We go touch on that sometime in the near future. You see that one you just touched there? I know 100% what you're talking about it, but we're going to leave a special program for that one. And you see, many people saying don't blindly about that, you know. The last conglomerate you talk about the Dr. Figuera. But that one, we definitely go hold that for our next day. But Dr. Figuera, someone says, right? And this is part of the problem as well, right? It says, well, let's call me Wall Street. CV says, Wall Street, the PNM created this mess. How do you address that?
It is not the PNM per se. What created the mess is the unwillingness of our politicians to decolonize their mind. All our politicians still walk around with hallucinatory whiteness. All of them need to read Fanon. So they continually believe in the civility of their race. They will talk about slavery and indentureship and this, that, and the other, and that is just mouthwash. At the level of the idea, they continue to be servile. The entire society has no creativity. In Trinidad and Tobago, if an oligarch wants an idea how to make money, they take a plane and they go to Miami, drive around, see what it have there, and then come back and replicate it in Trinidad and Tobago. So Trinidad and Tobago, we have Winn-Dixie. We have everything Miami have, we have it in Trinidad and Tobago, even though it's irrelevant. We have no foreign exchange in Trinidad and Tobago, but we still bringing in strawberry and kiwi fruit and all kind of things.
How you doing, Mr. Figuera? This is Gary Mahabir. It have no foreign exchange for the ordinary man. It have foreign exchange for certain people.
It have foreign exchange for certain people, but the fact of the matter is that even the amount that it have for certain getting smaller and smaller.
Well, obviously, because first of all, the government style of management with this COVID crippled the economy more than they helped it. They crippled everybody.
It's more than COVID. The energy boom dead, finished,
They kill it
and
before,
never to come back.
They kill it from day one. From day one, they kill that.
Dr. Figuera, I have a question for you.
Wait, Diana, let Gary finish. Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, I thought you
So,
said.
but here what happened today, right? In fact, yesterday,
Hold on.
a East Indian guy was doing OJT, right? And he got a hold of a job in Utica, and he tried to apply, and he was told that he didn't have the right hair texture to apply for the job. So the race thing is not with the upper management; it's down on the ground within the people.
The race thing is with everybody, because when UNC was ruling, was the same thing. When UNC rule, you get the decimation of the African and the half breed. When PLM rule, you get the decimation of the Indian and the half breed. So it's people like me and all the breed people in Trinidad, we just get the most licks. Both sides that blows we.
Oh God, talk, go ahead, Dr. Figuera, talk. Yeah,
Well, listen,
Gary. But Gary,
go ahead.
you see, Gary, Dr. Figuera can show you the both sides of the coin. You understand?
You understand that, but the thing about it is the PNM created this structure because it was managed that way. It was managed that how many people, what kind of people could get jobs in the government, right? If you check the history of the government, anyway, I got an emergency call. I'll join you guys back later.
Yeah, but Dr. Figuera, someone says, right, Vonnie Roberts says, Wall Street, the policing methods need advancing to modern times. How do you address that?
Yes,
the policing methods.
We still policing as colonials. Remember, the colonials had to police repressively and militarized because it was a little white minority ruling a non-white majority. 1962 came and left, and we never changed the policing because the politicians prefer policing like that. Because the politicians.
What I see happening here is that it is so enrooted with the government, with the party that ruled the country for most of our independence, that anybody comes in to try to make any change, they're really fighting a tough battle because, you could change the head of and the management, but if you don't have the right collaboration, and you have to have some kind of real testicular fortitude to really fight what you're dealing with on the ground there, because it is so nurtured and strengthened. The roots are so far in the ground that you really need an uprooting. This is the way I see it. I mean, I know you're on the ground there, but this is what I'm seeing. No matter who comes in there, you could bring anybody on there, and everybody's gonna have the same problem because the thing is so entrenched in our structure that you get in the mine and cutting up because you're among sharks, alligators, and barracudas.
Nobody. The most potent lesson from our politics is that when we had Basio from 95 to 2001, and then we had the PPG from 2010 to 2015, no change. No change. In fact, in those two periods, it was potently indicated that we had two periods of government in which they were more than willing to genuflect and bend over backwards to the dictates of massa. So even the streak of nationalism within PNM was not duplicated during those two periods of UNC and PPG. So it has to do with something that is inherently wrong with all of we.
Now, Dr.
Diana.
Dr. Figuera, this is Diana. How are you doing?
Hi,
now, I've often said on this program That is why I want Trinbagonians to start thinking and behaving as Trinbagonians first, and not no UNC and PNM. And I'm glad you came and you cleared that up for me, because I would call myself fortunate. I was raised in Barbados and I was raised in Trinidad and Tobago, and I can compare the two societies, But when I grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, this race thing, I didn't see it. I'm sorry, I'm a child of the 70s. I left Trinidad in 1979. So, 60s and 70s, I did not see the race thing. And when I went back in the 90s and started traveling back, and I began to see it and hear people talk, I said, where is this coming from? Where's it come? Because when it boils down, you're all Trinbagonians. We are all Trinbagonians. Now, I have a question which was raised in an earlier program. Someone said, and Dr. Rowley came out and he said he had lost confidence in Gary Griffith. Someone said, could Gary Griffith's demise in his commissioner demise, not his death, be attributed to the scandal around the fake oil that he was getting close to and he was investigating?
You see, many people put forward speculation. What we need to focus on is what was put in the public domain concerning the firearm users' licenses, the guns, and the investigation into that. Because we have to put it in the context that what happened in the period April to June 2021. In April 2021, the US federal authorities uncovered an illicit small arms trafficking pipeline from the United States of America to Trinidad and Tobago. There was one interdiction in Puerto Rico, and then there was the big interdiction in April in the airport in Trinidad, where the arms and the material and the ammunition that was interdicted, it was clearly intended to arm a militia in Trinidad and Tobago. And I asked the question, why do you want to arm a militia? Remember the last time we had the arming of a militia, we had an event on a Friday evening, July 27, 1990. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the arms and the material and the ammunition that was interdicted in the airport after the US federal authorities indicated it was into the country. Clearly, that was an act to destabilize this country.
By who?
That is the question. Secondly, in June, the police unit sought interdicted, buried in the outside perimeter of the maximum security prison, a cache of arms, and much more important, C4 explosives with detonators. So that means you had all intention to blow the wall of the maximum security prison and for armed persons to escape from that prison to do what? So that is one interdiction of indicating an intent to destabilize. And then June month, another one that follows. Something, therefore, is going on in the illicit world that has now taken on a strategic objective to destabilize this country. And I expect, and I know immediately, even before these events, the deep state was unaware and conscious of what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago because you have billions of US dollars invested in Trinidad and Tobago. And it is the duty of the deep state to monitor what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago. That's your job. And when I say the deep state, I'm talking about you have more than one North Atlantic nation who has interest in Trinidad and Tobago. Just take a drive down Prawn 14 and look at it. Right? So that means from the time you have the involvement of the deep state in this affair, because you can't have these two events and the deep state is not involved in action and deeply concerned. So my personal point of view, the issue then is who is involved in this pipeline and what is the intent and objective, and what is the reaction and effectiveness of the police service in preempting this entire affair. So this therefore is a national security crisis. And we will never know the details of it. We will never know the briefing that the deep state delivered in Trinidad and Tobago. But just look at the events, and when you know how these things work and you know the language of the deep state, what was stated in public in Trinidad and Tobago, and you interpret the language used, you understand the gravity of the reality. And my personal point of view, that was the breaking point.
The breaking point of what? Of the arms coming into the country, or the breaking point of 1990?
No, the breaking point for a change of management at the top.
All right. Okay. I get it. That's deep.
Because you know, the buck stops right there. And the only person to carry that out is the Prime Minister. Because remember, under our Constitution, the person who commands the majority in the House of Representatives is the person who hires the police commissioner, not no police service commission.
Whoa.
Not no police service commission.
No
police service commission cannot fire nobody.
Dr. Figuera, that's such a great point there, because, when Gary Griffith became Commissioner of Police, he was fourth on the list.
Thank you.
So at the end of the day, the Prime Minister, you could be number one, the Prime Minister can say, nah, not he, or not she. 2, nah, not he, not she. 3, nah, not she, not he. 4, nah, not he, not she. 5, all right. That's the one we go with. And once they go up to Parliament and you are the majority, it's over. Right?
Thank you.
It's over. So the Police Service Commission could submit 5 names, and the Prime Minister could still, when he get the list, he could still say, nah, I want them.
Yes.
Or go back and come again.
So therefore, the question arises, Mr. Ansem.
Where the list gone?
Why did Prime Minister Rowley invest his political capital in creating Gary Griffith as commissioner?
That's a good question, man.
When you have elements in the party was totally opposed to it.
Dr.
What's your
Figuera.
speculation?
Well, partner, they open their mouth and they talk.
What is it?
Remember the history of the man under the PPG. In politics, you have long memories, You don't forgive and forget. And in Trinidad and Tobago, the game of politics is to the victor goes the spoils. So after 5 years of taking blows, imagine you bring a motion of no confidence in the leader of the opposition when you have the overwhelming majority in the House to vote him out and get rid of him from the parliament. Remember that?
Yep.
Well, many people who got victory in 2015 did not forget many things, including the amount of people who lost their jobs. And then you bring and you resurrect one of the most prominent talking head on the national security apparatus and the literal dismantling of the national security apparatus that you inherited. Remember who started to attack the purchase of the OPVs?
Yep. Yep. People forget that. They forget that.
That was the talking head of the charge against everything they met. And sending people home by the tidal wave.
Under which government you're referring to?
PPG.
Okay, so you say they send on people by the tidal wave. Based on what grounds? Because
I could tell you from personal experience.
Well, you need to elaborate a little more on that, because as far as I know, there were a lot of people doing some very crooked things under Mr. Manning.
No. I talking about ordinary people who take orders, who don't make policy, send home.
From what section? In under national security?
Yes, and all replacements were of a specific race and a class within the race.
So you're saying there was a replacement by race?
Yes. And a class within the race.
A class within the race. And
it was all middle class.
So they were replaced. And isn't that the same thing that the PNM does back and forth?
Yeah, but you see, that is why you can't justify one and attack the other.
No, I'm asking that.
Because it's 6 or 1 and half a dozen of the other. Both sides is the same thing. Racist
and Gary, you see, that is the point I keep saying. And I have this up here, now sitting up here, since 736. Right? This is what Run DMC says. PNM supporters vote on race, UNC performers vote on performance. Right? You hear that, Dr. Figuera? They're saying that PNM supporters vote on race and UNC supporters vote on performance. You see why we in the problems that we are in today?
So, but anyway, 2 minutes to the hour. You got to watch for the top of the hour.
Yeah, but Gary, all right. You know what? Let me go for that quick break and we got to come back and address that subject. Because that subject is what have we where we are today.
And it's going to have us in this structure? Is the PNM created that structure?
So Gary, Mahatma Gandhi says, an eye for an eye only make the whole world blind. Okay? Don't forget that quote. An eye for an eye only make the whole world blind. So you agreeing that we should make the whole world blind. But anyway, it's in the village to the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us criminologist Dr. Darius Figuera, and we're having a very spirited discussion in the village with the DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM. We're going to go for a quick station identification, and we'll be right back after the station identification. Stick and stay, don't go nowhere. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's In the Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. That's Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. Now, Dr. Figuera, I want you to address that statement, because you have been in the belly of the beast, so to speak, for a very long time in Trinidad and Tobago. PNM supporters vote on race, UNC performers vote on performance. UNC supporters vote on performance. How do you address that?
Who gave Kamla Persad-Bissessar the overwhelming majority she got in 2010? Wasn't it African voters?
Yes, indeed, I was there.
Talk to me.
Who put Basil Pandey in power in 1995 and then again in 2001, and then the shatter internally? Wasn't African voters and half-breed voters?
Yes.
So therefore, African and half-breed people has shown a tendency, and they showed it in 1985 with the NAR, that when they are fed up with the PNM and you give them a viable choice, they will vote out the PNM.
Thank you. Thank you.
But in 2010, they went and they voted for Kamla. It was Kamla Mania, and she bust in their face like a pater. Because after they put the trust in Kamla, all they could have seen coming down was race purging, a racist agenda, and they're just running wild.
So that is what you saw under Kamla? Is that what you're telling me?
Of course. Remember, sir, I was a founding member of the United National Congress. I know when Kamla come in the UNC, I start and watch she. So when I talk, it's air from reading papers and listening to talk in rum shop.
Right. So you're saying that Kamla pushed a race agenda, or some people under Kamla pushed that agenda? Was it the Prime Minister herself?
Racist hegemony is the matrix of politics in Trinidad and Tobago. You hear? When you go to campaign, you love everybody because you want their vote.
They love me too.
When you win power, then you start to separate the sheep from the goats. And under Kamla, they run riot. They play with the money of the country. All the years they talk about PNM waste and profligacy and this and that and the other. And what they do in 5 years, put the PNM in the shade. They went playing up with the energy sector, and they literally give away everything because they have shown a propensity to be even more servile to massa than PNM politicians and to the minority race oligarchs in Trinidad and Tobago.
So Kamla didn't improve the service delivery to the people. She created a racial problem.
Kamla, the reason, whatever Kamla did, in 2015, the same African and half-breed people who vote for Kamla went and vote she out. And then in 2015...
Okay, so what I'm asking, what I'm referring
to
is...
Look at the electoral results for Kamla in 2010 and 2015 in the East-West Corridor, and you realize that every single support base that was created over the years by the former UNC, Kamla and she crew eroded to nothing. Kamla, candidate in 2015 in St. Joseph constituency, polled 7,000 votes. Finish. She will stay with 19 seats in opposition for the rest of her life. They ain't winning 2 seats to get a majority. No trust. There is no trust. And that attack that she put on the president is the final straw that break the already broken camel back.
What I'm asking you is, I am referring to compare to this government that's in place and the level of services provided towards the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. You are saying that Kamala is worse than this government?
The people have voiced their opinion of Kamala after voting overwhelmingly for her in 2010. They refused her in 15 and then in 20. We don't need to talk about what she did. The masses have spoken in 2 elections.
Okay, so then we on the side misunderstands how the government is performing, and the government seems to be performing very well, better than Kamala.
The government is no different from Kamala, but the masses in the corridor say flat that they don't trust Kamala again.
Oh, I see.
They cannot trust her.
Okay, but the masses voted a second time around for Dr. Rowley because they have more trust in Dr. Rowley compared to Kamala. Is that what they did?
No, they have no choice. Kamala is not a viable choice. So you vote for the devil you know.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, God.
That is how bad she is. And as long as Kamala sticks around, Indian people in this country will be condemned to the benches of futile opposition politics forever and ever. Because they don't want to get it into their head at all, because I know it from the years I was in UNC. They believe that they can win only on the Indian vote, and that is stupidity.
But
this is a multiracial country.
Either side who believes that Dr. Rowley didn't win on the African vote alone or the mixed vote, there was a combination. A lot of Indians supported PNM. A lot of Indians benefit from PNM.
Where in the corridor Rowley got an Indian vote that made a difference? Sama Barataria is still UNC. Where?
So Sama Barataria is the only place that have Indians? It have Tunapuna, it have St. Augustine, it have all over the place.
In Tunapuna and St. Joseph, they cannot sway no election either way.
But Indians voted for PNM in those areas.
That is not the issue. The issue is, are you in enough numbers to win polling divisions to be important to the outcome? They are not.
But I understand what you're saying. But what my point is, we must stop giving the impression that one particular race only support one particular party, because there are a lot of Indians stand with the PNM, in spite of what Dr. Rowley is doing. A lot of Indians support him.
Yeah, but a statement that a lot of Indians support, that is as broad as it is wide. It's a handle.
But also a lot of Indians making the decision that we don't like. A lot of Indians making the decision that we don't like, that we went against under Dr. Rowley.
You have oligarchs who support party in power. They support party in power.
I think the people needs to get this out of their head with the race. I think they'll be more intelligent now so than before, and I'm very disappointed to see younger people, kind of promoting this kind of thinking. I mean, a majority of the younger people are kind of shaking that off. But I am disappointed when the younger generation pushes the race agenda. I mean, leave it for the older people who.
You see, Gary, here's part of the problem, and Dr. Figuera addresses it, and Dr. Figuera. You see, people always says that the PNM push a race card and the UN and normally I don't talk PNM UNC, and the UNC pushes something different, right? And what I'm hearing from Dr. Figuera is both sides tend to push that kind of race card, but we only want to identify one side as pushing a race card, right? And remove the other side from pushing a race card. And Dr. Figuera also said that when Mrs. Kamala Persad came into power, she came into power with votes from people who don't look like her. And when they gave her that mandate from 2010 to 2015, right, they didn't feel that she did what she was supposed to do, right? So in 2015, they vote differently. 2020 comes.
A lot of Indians against Kamala. In fact, I didn't support Kamala.
No, but Gary, that's not the point. That's not the point. This is not who against and who on for. This is just the point that black people vote for Mrs. Kamala Persad in order for her to get in power in 2010.
But she's
they gave her a full mandate. And but, Gary, I say this, Gary, I say this, this is what I say, and this is facts, from an outsider looking in. I felt that Mrs. Kamala Persad had a great opportunity to change the people in the urban community, East-West Corridor, thinking, especially in Chumakak, Laventille, when that building burned down. Yes, Mrs. Kamala Persad did relocate those people to Oropun, right? We say, thank you very kindly. But let me finish, Gary. Right, but Gary, let me finish.
Right,
but Gary, you see, you gotta let me finish, Gary. You gotta let me finish. Right? You see, I said that she did a great job relocating them to Oropun. I didn't leave that out. However, from 2011 to 2015, that building stayed there abandoned in Chumakak, Laventille. And let me go further. And 6 years under the PNM, the building still abandoned. So what is the difference between the PNM and the UNC for the people of Chumakak, Laventille? What is the difference? What's the difference?
I don't think you can
no difference. No difference.
That building, answer.
What?
Because she had better plans.
Oh God, Gary, man. Oh God, Gary, come on, man. Better plans? In 4 years, we waiting to have better plans, and the PNM waiting 6 years? 11 years. 11 years. Two parties.
Mess you wanted the UNC to correct.
You see, you wanna make all kind of excuse now. All right, go ahead, Gary. Go ahead. You see, I put the PNM in the mix. Me trying to take them out. You trying to take the UNC out of the mix. You see?
What I'm saying, the one party.
You see what's happening?
4 years.
Wait,
I put the UNC in the mix, and I in the PNM, right? You trying to take the UNC out of the mix. Right?
I'm asking you. First of all, you have to understand something. You and I on the outside here, you and I don't understand what's taking place within those ministries as a new administration comes in and they try to implement their plan of action and what kind of opposition and undermining they go through and the things that they have to go through to really get things going. In 5 years' time, you have one party ruling regardless of who take power. The PNM loyalty lies within the infrastructure of the country that they could disrupt and show anybody who is boss, and that is what they was doing.
Totally wrong. If the PNM was loyal to Chumakak, they would have taken care of that building already. Talk now.
Chumakak is not the only thing, Answer. I'm talking about the
infrastructure. If the PNM was loyal to Chumakak, they would have taken care of that building already.
Answer, you have to understand the infrastructure of the various ministries and how the things work in there. You know, a government comes in and especially when you're not the popular party, it is not easy to move things as you would like to get it done. It takes a little time to get things into place. I don't think you can get it. I was mad with she too. I was very upset with she, but I get to understand from various people the difficulties they were having with getting things. You know, it wasn't just like a government change and you could move things around as you well please.
That is excuses. All failed politicians blame the civil service.
Everybody else but themselves.
That is excuses. The first thing happens, they come into power and they want to do things without following the legal procedure, and the civil servant have to keep telling them, this is the law, this is the rule, this is how you do it. You have to follow the procedure. But they want to call the partner on the phone and get 2 trucks delivered down the road to move something, and then call the next partner and get 5 trucks come with gravel. And the government don't work so.
Well, that working with a PNM or UNC in government, that's what's going on there. That's going on right now with Raleigh.
Yeah. So all failed politicians blame the civil service. All failed politicians always insist that it didn't perform because of the civil service. And in Trinidad and Tobago, all failed politicians insist that the civil service is PNM. And then when the PNM come in, the PNM insist that the UNC put the people in and leave them in to trip we up. Well, everybody fails to understand is that they constantly make excuses because they come in there not to check for people, but to check for themselves.
Well, a lot of that, I saw that a lot of that happen. I mean, look, I myself wasn't treated nicely with all my effort to help. You know, I mean, I had my experience in things. You know, but and also, I mean, me and Ansem helped Dr. Raleigh. We can't even have a conversation with him. We was trying to reach out to him in reference to stranded citizens. We wasn't looking for a contract. We wasn't looking for any favor. We was trying to point out some things to the Prime Minister and how we can work this thing better than how they're doing. And we couldn't get to reason with them at all. You know, so I mean, we have a kind of a natural way about ourselves, whether it's Indian, African, or PNM or UNC. We have a certain kind of pride and ego within us as Trinidadians too. That you can't advise them. They're cocky. They puff up their chests. You know, it's on both sides of the divide. You know, these are the things that we deal with. But again, I still hold the PNM responsible because they have ruled the country for the most of our independence, and they have their roots in place. And it really takes, I see it, and it really takes a heavy-handed manager or prime minister to really push things around. I mean, Dr. Raleigh is a tough guy, but he's just doing things in the wrong way, and that's really. I expected a lot better from him. You know, I thought he wouldn't take. You know, he was straightening things out, and I mean, he's moving heavy-handed, but he's moving heavy-handed for his own benefit and his friends.
That is the normal political process. He's not unique.
Dr. Figuera, somebody says, Albert Montano says, Dr. Figuera, can Trinidad get out of the problems they have found themselves in?
Nope. No. What is happening now is that we have dug the hole so deep that we don't even have the will to see how deep the hole is. So all we do is that we abide in the land of delusion, predicated on hate and victimhood. Everybody is a victim, and everybody hates everybody, including themselves. So there is no tolerance for critical dialogue. No tolerance at all for critical dialogue.
And Dr. Figuera, would you agree with me or disagree? Because I'm on the outside looking into it. It's slowly becoming, or it has become, a bourgeois society.
Yes. Everybody feels that life is what they see going on in a certain part of America. But all what they're seeing is the propaganda on American media. They don't see the homeless in LA and San Francisco.
Nope.
And so what everybody feels, that is the life to live. And you're living in a place where you're spending foreign exchange that you don't earn. You're living above your means. You're spending something that only the energy sector earns, and the energy sector is now in its sunset stage because all the shallow gas is gone, and the players present in Trinidad not interested in no deep margin gas. They're just looking for a free meal and the skeleton pick beer. And then climate change come and put it on way. That is the final nail in the coffin.
You took the words out of my mouth, because I was saying too, if the energy sector, as you say, is in a demise, how can they diversify the economy to attract investors and encourage or discourage a brain drain, which obviously will happen because there's no opportunities for young folks?
The major impediment to the brain drain in Trinidad and Tobago is presently the difficulty to migrate from Trinidad and Tobago to the United States and other areas. If the North Atlantic had open doors, Trinidad and Tobago would have had an entire generation gone and another one getting ready to go. Because the young people realize long time ago, you put in the work, you fight to get an education, you make all your sacrifices, and then there is nothing for you to look forward to here. Because the inequality is now, you could bite it now and taste the inequality. The inequality is now fixed. And the young people who want a better life and they want opportunity are convinced, but remember, to migrate now legally is a million hurdles you have to jump. So those who have family through which you can go, they have long exploited that and they have gone. What we have left now is those now who are looking to go. So you know what is going on now? They born, they grow in Trinidad, they get their profession in Trinidad, and they are now going to the Canadians with their professional certificates and applying to go to Canada as professionals, and the Canadians are lifting them out of Trinidad and packing them in Canada. So the word among young people in Trinidad and Tobago now is go to Canada.
I would like to caution our people to examine the information before they jump in it, because right now, that's why I had to get off the show for a couple of times, is that we have a Trinidadian who went for a job offer. An employer in St. Lucia was offering him the bed of roses and golds and diamonds and everything there. He's a highly skilled mechanical engineer. He gets into St. Lucia. The employer takes his passport, his vaccination card, and wants his relatives to send money to him and not the person that needs the help. Right? So the guy cannot collect any money. In fact, he just called me from a security guard phone in a market that he's sleeping on a bench right now. Okay? And because he went to the police, because I got foreign affairs involved in it, I got the prime minister officer involved in it. And because he went to the police, they are looking to kill this guy, right? So this guy is hiding for his life right now, as we speak.
Well, what he should have learned is that you don't ever go to St. Lucia.
No.
You're looking for opportunity, you go to the North Atlantic. Another area young people in Trinidad and Tobago is now discovering is that they are willing, and some have gone ahead and others are following, is that they are going to China.
Yep, I said so.
Yes.
Well, this happened to be the opportunity that works for him at the moment. There was nothing working out for him in Trinidad.
Well,
and
stay right here and sell aloo pie.
Well, I tell him that. I tell him that before.
Not St. Lucia. So go Haiti and St. Lucia.
So Mr. Figaro, Dr. Figaro, someone says, well, Mr. Figaro, Vonnie Roberts says, well, Mr. Figaro, if Gary failed, all blames goes to PM because he chose Gary when he was fourth on the list. What do you say about that?
I agree totally.
That?
I agree totally.
Come back with that.
Wrong choice.
The PM chose Gary.
Vonnie Roberts says, well, Mr. Figaro, if Gary failed, all blames goes to the PM because he chose Gary when he was fourth on the list. But Dr. Figaro, now that he's correcting his error.
Oh, shoot. One of many.
So Dr. Figaro, all right, hit me over the head. Wrong choice. You failed in picking the police commissioner of police. I realize that I failed. Now I have to make corrections. I can't continue with my failure all the time. I'm admitting that I failed. So it's time to make a correction. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. I listened. The decision to put Gary Griffith demanded explanations in public by the Prime Minister. On more than one occasion, he had to justify it in public because of the pushback from the party. And he continues to give explanations as to why. But the explanations always insist on is that it indicated that he is different from Kamala. And he is a better leader than Kamala. And I just cannot understand what is the logic in that explanation.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just can't understand, because the fact of the matter is this is a technical reality that you have to deal with. This is a major institution in the national security apparatus. This are 10 days foreman. And therefore, you have to look at the history of the individual. So I just can't understand. Some people insist that there were certain specific oligarchs who insisted on that choice. I don't know. As we say in Trinidad, I wasn't there. I didn't see the child.
Dr. Figaro, your thoughts on those young men that Trinidad exported crime to carry a coup?
Yes.
What do you think? At Trinidad and Tobago, what do you think, got into their heads when they thought they could go to carry a coup and carry off this robbery? And was it U.S. they were stealing, or were they stealing EC dollars?
No, you see, this is not the first time Trinbagonian people were involved in criminal activity of the islands. In the 90s, we had a series of Trinbagonians going to St. Lucia and other islands and attack and robbing banks and things like that. So they left Tobago and went to Carriacou, robbed the Co-op Bank. That was keeping in the tradition, and that is an indicator to you now of the change in the emphasis in criminality in Trinidad now. We're now getting entrepreneurial once again. This old talk about killing each other, and you're killing each other over 2 roads in East Dry River, over so is mine. Now they're getting entrepreneurial again, because remember, they loaded up the boat in Tobago, went up the road. So that means they know where they're going. They reach, they come ashore, man stay in the boat for the getaway, rob the bank, get back in the boat and left. What they didn't count on is one of the new vessels for the Grenada Coast Guard that the U.S. government contributed to Grenada was in the vicinity, get the call, and run them down and grab them. I can imagine what they're going through in a Grenada jail.
Oh, Lord.
So, Dr. Figuera, now here is another comment, right? And we like to read comments from people in the chat. So they're addressing me now, right? They says, is it a problem to battle the PNM? Is the PNM party holding on down Wall Street? They call me Wall Street, right? So I just want to remind Little Ron Horner that it was same yours truly who was bad talking the PNM with respect to exile and stranded citizens. This whole program here on WZYE 95.9 FM with Gary certainly fight for exile and stranded citizens. And we brought this program on here, right? And the program had to bad talk the PNM with respect to exile and stranded citizens, right? So I am the last person you can say believe the PNM party is holier than thou. However, Little Ron Horner, I didn't hear you, Little Ron Horner. I didn't hear you criticize David Naked when he called the president, right, a jackass. I didn't hear you say anything about that. You know why? Because you believe when you in your party and anybody say anything, your party is holier than thou. Talk now. Talk now, Little Ron Horner. Talk now. I just had to put that in there to figure out, but that's okay.
Well, first of all, jackass is the prime ministerial language in Trinidad and Tobago. The doctor.
Yeah. But Gary, you see, that's the problem, Gary. If we as citizens accept the language from any sides of the coin, and we don't talk about it and condemn it, right? Then we are part of the problem.
I am not saying I support it, but you see, we could operate in a way we devote to that and focus on that and move away from what the relevant issue is.
So, Gary, let Little Ron Horner condemn it. By the way,
the Prime Minister told somebody in a chat to kiss his posterior.
You see, Dana, that is part of the problem. Mahatma Gandhi says, an eye for an eye only make the whole world blind.
And a tooth for a tooth, we'll all be toothless too.
And if somebody cuss me, right, I should go back and cuss somebody else because you cussed me. And that's
no. The leader of the country is supposed to comport himself in a certain way.
I agree.
And wait a minute, give me a chance. I wasn't chiming in as much all night. I like to listen. He gets on a podium and he buffs the people. He doesn't show any sort of compassion. Number one, when Dr. Figuera is gone, I'm jumping on him for something, right? He doesn't show any kind of compassion. It is alleged, you had a run-in with a woman with a golf cart, and what will come out of that? All the different stories in song in his favor. And up to now, he make a public statement. Well, if I had knocked down the young lady, I do apologize. Nothing. So when you have the leader of the country behaving a certain way, if you're the head of your household and you behave in a certain way, you expect your children to act the same way too? And visitors to your house?
Well, I say human behavior is contagious, and we have a tendency to imitate certain things. But what I would like to focus on, and what I see is everybody's trying to divert with what Nakit say or this one say. But let's bring back the focus on what the president was supposed to do and what the president did, and the president refused to give us an answer of what happened to that merit list. That merit list, this is an official government office. That merit list, if it enters the president quarters residency, there it's supposed to be signed for some kind of acknowledgement. It just it's not allowed to disappear. I'm sure they have some kind of protocol in place. So now the president will come there and say, there's no list. Bam. But all asked me before, basically.
The president gave an explanation. The president said she received the list on the very same day. The head of the Police Service Commission withdrew the list.
But that's not how it was reported, you know. That's not how it was reported, you know.
In the statement she placed in the daily media in Trinidad and Tobago, she said in writing that the list was withdrawn the same day by the head of the Police Service Commission. Everybody in Trinidad and Tobago who aiming at the president and aiming the guns at the president, but nobody looking for Blissy Passad and ask her, so what went on? Let me hear what went on.
That's why everybody resigned.
Yeah.
But I don't think Blissy Passad and her whole team should just resign and just get away with no explanation. I think they should be brought before either a joint select committee or some kind of tribunal to answer, because these are questions that needs to be answered.
Yes, but you cannot answer in public on issues dealing with national security, because national security issues are on a need-to-know basis.
But not
that
in this
is
category.
Not for any and everybody in Trinidad and Tobago to digest and to talk about on Brian Lara Promenade, like if that is their business.
Well, it is the business.
This is not their business.
The merit list is not a public business.
The reason why the merit list was withdrawn, if it is a national security issue, is not everybody's business. Does Joe Biden discuss national security issues in America on CBS Good Morning America?
No, he
well, if something
why
like
does Trinidad and Tobago discuss our national security issues in public?
If something like this happened in America, they would be before the Senate explaining themselves.
Yeah, but that is in camera when they go before the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Anyway, Dr. Figuera.
It's one rule for Massa and another one for me.
Somebody have one extra thing. Yeah.
You see, the thing about it, and later on, Honor, no, I don't know where you get about the PNM shooting down Gary. No, nobody shooting down Gary. Dr. Darius Figuera is a man of facts. The man have written 13 books. 13, right? 13 books. It's not like if, Darius Figuera, Dr. Darius Figuera is a Johnny come lately. Dr. Darius Figuera is not a Johnny come lately, right? One of the most highly respected criminologists in the Caribbean. I mean, I'd rather shoot. I'd rather say much about, but the fact speaks for itself, right? And what he's doing is giving us facts, not hearsay and them say and they say, right? And that's what we just be involved in. We're involved in another hearsay, them say and they say, right? Well, Dr. Darius Figuera, are you a politician?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
All sides get licks and praise.
Yeah. So somebody says, Dr. F, did you write July 27, 1990? I don't know.
Yes, that was my research into the Jamaat al-Muslimin on July 27, 1990.
Oh, there you go. So Alvin Singh, there you go. That was Dr. Darius Figuera. So you see,
Okay, so I have a question in reference to that. Based on what we had Mr. Abu Bakr Senior here, we had Junior here recently, and there is what Mr. Bakr did was not clear in the public domain as to why he did it when he did it. And what's your views on Mr. Bakr's action, because he felt that his country and people was being oppressed and he took certain action to push back?
For years, I have insisted that the issue with July 27, 1990 is not why, it's how. We have to start thinking now like Massa. When we continue to ask why they did it, that is exonerating the politicians of the day who did not do their duty to preempt them from doing it.
Well, that's
Correct.
what I'm saying. What the man
Correct.
did something, but it is not taken into consideration of all the factors behind it, and that what was done to him, what was being done to the country, and he felt that he was rescuing his people under his mind, in his
But
mind.
anybody could have a feeling, and anybody could have a feeling that is a victim and want to do something. The fact of the matter is, the state national security apparatus failed to do its job.
Yeah, we know they failed. We know they failed there. We
The
know they failed
people
a big
made
time.
repeated trips to Florida and purchased weapons and ammunition, shipped it into Trinidad, stored it in Trinidad until they broke it out on the 27th to use it. Whilst Herbert Atwell was standing up in the parliament and talking about we will not tolerate a state within a state and we will deal with the Jamaat al-Muslimin. When you had army camp on the compound with the Jamaat and nearly every day you're raiding them and they still do you that? Apparently, like they was too busy watching the Muslim woman going to bathe than watching what was going on when everybody assembled in the masjid on the said Friday and left from the masjid to attack the Red House and TTT and 610 radio, and the army was right there in the back. So that is why you must look at how. But people in Trinidad and Tobago want to look at how. This, you had the Express newspaper that's for 31 years demonizing Yasser Abubakar and refusing to ask how. Because if that happened in 1990 and that deficiency is not cured, that means when they bring in the set of arms and material in April 2021 to arm a militia, it could have happened to we again. But you see, in Trinidad and Tobago, you don't think causally. Everything is a bacchanal.
Well, we're dealing with people with egos that don't want to listen to us at all. I mean, you know.
They may have no ego. They may have no ego. They ain't even know what they have. So when you ask how, then you get all the questions. And that is what I uncovered in my research and I wrote it. And let me tell you, I catch my royal nene up to today in my life for revealing them kind of thing. Pressure. It took me 7 years to get a master's of philosophy. With that book was my thesis. 7 years. Because nobody is willing to give you credit for the research you do because you point out the how of it.
You show up the flaws.
People. Classic inept people playing politicians and say they're running a country. But you see, after 1990, they were the victims. All of we who was alive on July 27, 1990, we were the victims, not them. We voted them in to protect and serve we.
But why it is that the government was harassing the Jamaat consistently? Why were they up in their face harassing them in that extent?
It have two fundamental reasons. One, you had Muslims of the Indian race who were insisting to the government that the Jamaat is not Muslims and to get rid of them from the land. And two, the Jamaat was on the streets, agitating politically against A&R Robinson. So you had classic. July 27, 1990 was a byproduct of this African-Indian race war.
So that is the reason you're saying that the Jamaat attacked the government, that caused the Jamaat, the Indian African race. Well, I thought some people supported his decision.
Partner, I have copies of the affidavit that an Indian Muslim swear to and submitted it for a case the government under the NAR brought against the Jamaat for occupation of the land, saying that the Jamaat al-Muslimin is not Muslims.
Okay, so this is one Indian person you're referring to. Not, I understand.
The man was a mufti.
But that one Indian doesn't speak for all the Indians.
Yeah, but this is Islam we're talking about, yes, partner. This is not Indian we're talking about. We're talking about Islam here.
I understand that, but the way this could come across is like if all the Indian Muslims were against Abu Bakr, because Abu Bakr had a lot of friends. You know,
we're not talking about that. You know, all who was for or against Abu Bakr. You say you are a Muslim, and you go to swear affidavit saying that the Jamaat al-Muslimin is not Muslims.
Okay, but so he swears an affidavit that the Jamaat is not a Muslim. But how does that bring about military action or police harassing them? Because
since the Jamaat al-Muslimin is not Muslims, therefore they have no right to be on the land, so evict them.
Okay, so forget the land. I'm talking about what made the Jamaat a threat. What made the Jamaat into a terrorist group? Why were they considered?
No, Gary, they were not a terrorist group. Okay, we cannot say that. They were not a terrorist group.
Whether they were not, what I'm saying to you, it was projected.
No, Gary, we cannot call them a terrorist group.
But you don't understand the point I'm trying to make here. I'm trying to clarify.
No, you can make a point without terrorists. They are not a terrorist group. I have to say that.
Did you hear my question? I said, why would they characterize as that?
Okay.
That is what I'm saying.
Okay, all right.
Who told the NAR government that the Jamaat al-Muslimin wasn't Muslims?
Okay, but listen to me. That is something different compared to what they were characterized as. And,
no,
I mean,
that is the reason for them being characterized like that. Because they were then characterized as, since they were not Muslim, what are they then? And
well, I'm trying to understand
what they were characterized as.
Yeah, but
they
what
were
I'm trying to
characterized
understand,
as black Muslims.
Okay, somebody could say I'm not Christian, or you're not real Hindu,
all right.
or you're not.
Who is a black Muslim?
What do you
Who do you call black Muslim? Not Nation of Islam?
A Muslim is a Muslim regardless of which color. Or you could call him black Muslim, white Muslim.
No, you start to dance.
I ain't dancing. What I'm saying to you
black Muslims is known as is a Nation of Islam is one and the same.
Okay, but that does not make him a terrorist or a threat.
And Nation of Islam was Malcolm X, Farrakhan, etc.
So that makes automatically a person a threat. Is that what you're saying?
Thank you. Because
that's what I'm trying to clarify.
Because what they are saying is that the Africans in the Jamaat are not bona fide Muslims. They're fakers.
Okay, so they're not. Okay, so they're not. We look in the Middle East right now. We have fighting between various groups of Muslims, right?
That don't apply to Trinidad and Tobago and the Jamaat al-Muslimin and in our government.
On what grounds they utilized to prove that Mr. Bakr was a threat, and why did they harass him and pressure him to this extent?
Let me tell you something. In the 1985 campaign against the PLM, do you know that the Jamaat al-Muslimin was the protector of the NAR when they went into the PLM areas in the East-West corridor? Oh, okay. You didn't know that?
Protector. How were they protecting them? By
security. Because the NAR was convinced that when they go into Lavantil and Picton and all the areas in the East-West corridor, they will get attacked by the PLM supporters.
What did the Jamaat have to equip themselves to make them to guarantee their security there?
Well, you must go and ask the Jama that.
Well, you know, you're the researcher, you're the man writing the book, so we have trying.
For you to be the security for the NAR, and you must therefore be able to secure them.
Well, I'm saying what it is that they had that they know that they had that could guarantee their security.
Yes, but you take one and get two. Me, I had to tell you.
Yeah.
But Gary, that is very simple, Gary, is that the Jamaat knew these areas, they knew the people on the ground, and they could bring people from now safely into those communities and bring them back out safely. When people see the Jamaat with them, the people are going to say, okay, these are people we know, right? They're bringing these people, so we're not going to do anything to these people. It's that simple. And I wasn't there, and that's my analysis.
That comes like any neighborhood. That comes like any neighborhood. I mean, you know, you're campaigning, you usually get somebody from the community that to walk with you. But
Gary, ever go up in the Barbs? Have you ever been up in the Barbs?
No, you never been up there.
Have you ever been up in Picton?
No, you never been up
I've been up in Laventille. I don't know what area.
Where in Laventille?
I don't even know the area.
They have many Laventilles. They don't have one.
Yeah, well, like I said, I've been up in the area, but I don't know the actual name of it. You know, I could have been in Chumaka and didn't know it.
Now, if it wasn't Chumaka, Gary, you would have known it. Trust me, you would have known it. If you've been to Chumaka, you would have known it. Right? And I've been to all parts of Laventille.
I don't know the area. I've been up there, but I don't know the area.
Gary, do you know that in 1991 general elections campaign, when the UNC was fighting that, the Jamaat, who was out of jail, was also guarding the UNC in the corridor?
Well, I heard a little bit from the Junior Bakar the other night that they supported the UNC into election,
and so they were in 1995.
And I also heard that in 2002 they went against the UNC. That's the first time I heard about them.
Never did up to today, because there are factions. There's always been a PNM faction in the Jamaat al-Muslimin, and then a UNC one came in, converted.
So the Jamaat is divided.
In 2010, they were there.
Well, I
saw. In 2015, they were there, and in 2020, they were there.
I saw them in 2010 in Renzi, because I saw Farwood. That's the first time I saw him. I didn't know who he was. His officer pointed out to me who he was, and he said, "Look, Mr. Bakar's son is here. They are here to support." You know, but I didn't speak to him at that time. You know, in 2010, I saw him there.
And whilst that is going on, from 2001, coming right down to 2020, you have members of the Jamaat also campaigning for the PNM. So every single political party in Trinidad and Tobago that has passed through politics in Trinidad and Tobago from 1985 to 2021 today have danced with the Jamaat al-Muslimin whilst cussing them in public.
Well, I mean, just like it have Muslim PNM and Hindu PNM and Christian PNM.
Yeah, but all them Muslim PNM and I think nobody never demonized them as terrorists. Every single one of them from the now go right down up to today have danced and made promises to the Jamaat al-Muslimin.
And never fulfilled. They do that to everybody else. Else.
So after 1990, the fact is, after the events of 1990, and they came out of jail in 93, they danced with them even more. So in fact, what they did is applauded what they did in 1990. They say, yeah, boy. Or they had testicular fortitude. I must dance with all them honor.
But I must agree they have testicular fortitude, because I don't see any group in Trinidad. I don't see any group, any religion, any big talker in Trinidad has put themselves out to that extent to stand up for their country.
So So the politicians talk one thing to the public, and behind closed doors is another reality. And the reality is a pragmatic, self-centered reality. I will do whatever it takes to win.
Mhm.
But that
is winning.
understood. That is understood. So
Mr. Figuera, if somebody says, but Mr. Figuera, you said they were not Muslims, so what are they? I don't know.
They say they weren't Muslims, but the Jamaat al-Muslimin is classic Orthodox Sunni Muslims.
Oh, okay, right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But answer, but you see the point I'm trying to clarify here is, okay, so one Muslim group says that they're not Muslim, just like you just have some Christian groups saying, condemning the other Christian group and saying they're not this or they're not that, or them feel that they're more holier than the other one. You see, they have different sects of the Hindu religion and certain things like that. But when it comes to where you creating a situation where this person becomes a threat and the police starts to harass them and step on them and raid them, under what grounds? You see, that's the point I'm making. What did you utilize to justify raiding their mosques or whatever it is? What evidence did they have to do that? And let me tell you something. Me as man, let me tell you something. If you keep stepping on my face like that, I'm gonna push back, and I'm gonna get so pissed off at you that I'm gonna push back so hard that you won't like it. So
yeah, but it is the duty of the state to make sure that they don't do what they did.
Well, the state made an enemy of itself. That's the way I see it. It made
the
an
state
enemy
makes
of itself.
many enemies, but not all the enemies the state makes that take you and hold you hostage in the Red House on Friday evening.
Well, not many of them have the testicular fortitude. You see, Mr. Makar barked the other day and they caught their attention.
So you have that is why the question is how.
I mean, not Satmaraja even have that kind of pull.
Because what people must understand is that before the event, the Imam would progressively stand in public, especially in the Woodford Square, and state publicly that we're going to do them something.
But look at what happened. No, notice recently. No, we're under the curfew, we're under the SOE, and I mean we've seen several complaints of the Hindu community about harassment of the police and how many people they could have here. Mr. Bakar's funeral took place. Not a damn dog bark. You see many people was there? You see how many people was there? Where the police force? Where all the bad boys there?
Well, you see, that is the rank you get in the society.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, the Hindu people getting licks, police up in their face, they lock them out of work. Caroni in one of them places the other day. All right, the one of the lawyers had to get involved, and it was so much a drama. And I watched carefully, and I waited to see if they was going to harass them, and not an inclination. They couldn't even twitch.
Yes,
and,
but
so Dr. Figuera, hold that thought right there. We got to go for a quick station identification. And Dr. Figuera, there is someone says here, Wall Street, your guest is not in authority to speak about Muslims. We're going to address that when we come back.
I am Muslim.
Whoa!
You see? I tell you something, sometimes people just say things, it's better to ask a question, right? To ask a question. But let's go for a quick station identification. Stick and stay. Dr. Figuera, stay right there. We'll be right back. Let's go for a quick station identification. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets and WZYE 95.9 FM. You're going to for a quick station identification and be right
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey. The most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's In the Village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. So Dr. Figuera, I wanted to address that. The person says Wall Street. That's me. Your guest is not in authority to speak about Muslims.
They must first find out what is to be an authority to speak on Muslim, because I am Muslim. I am a believer. Hardcore. That is why I don't like Islamic State at all.
You don't like an Islamic State?
No.
It's true.
And Al-Qaeda.
Well, not all. Well, Muslim fighting against Muslim in the Middle East on that issue. You know, I mean, so I mean that's something. I mean, we have a lot of Trinidadians as being wannabe, and I mean, we've seen quite a few of them went and joined and put their life, leave beautiful Trinidad to go and find themselves in difficulty. But Mr. Figuera, I would like to see the Mahasabha get some testicular fortitude like the Jamaat.
What we must remember, Basil Pandey appointed A&R Robinson as president of Trinidad and Tobago. The subsequent elections, 2002, were tied 18-18. A&R Robinson appointed Patrick Manning as prime minister. Did the supporters of the UNC stage a single march around the Red House?
Because they're weak. Okay? They're small between their legs.
But everybody just tell them that they have to be good boys and take their education and come doctors and liars. When I was a little fella, I grew up in an Indian village in the back of St. Augustine called Morang. And in them days, 1962 independence, meet me living in Morang. And in that village, I didn't know what is an Indian bad boy, you know.
Indian what?
An Indian bad boy, you know.
Indian bad boy.
An Indian ranker and a player, you know. In the life. Now all I just see is that everybody is a good boy.
What I'm saying, I mean, I watching all the licks. We are the brightest lawyers in the country, the most equipped lawyers, and certain things happen in the country, and nobody standing up. It seems like the more educated we get, is the more useless we became, or defenseless.
That is what happens to you when you trap a race in a minority mindset predicated on victimhood. So the Indian race in Trinidad and Tobago is no longer a minority race as in the 60s, and they continue to conceive of themselves as a besieged minority.
Well, I think they're too weak-hearted to tell you the truth. You know,
so it's only victimhood and hand-wringing.
I mean, I have preached about even standing up for yourself in your community, and they wouldn't even do that. Not even to secure their own community, they won't do that. So, you know, I really don't understand. I mean, listen, I'm a different kind of guy. A lot of people tell me I'm not even from Trinidad, but I'm a different horse. This is one Indian. You step on my corner, I'm gonna push you back. I'm sorry. And I used to fight in school like crazy. And,
me too.
You know, I didn't afraid to take on anybody at all. But
me too.
All right. So I mean, I never take advantage of people. But if you try to take advantage of me, I defended myself and I defended a lot of people too. You know. But they tell me I'm not from Trinidad.
You see, you like the Indians I grew up with in Morang.
Oh, bad boy.
Bad boys.
Okay. Well,
Morang is up behind Massey up in the hills there. Where's
No,
Morang?
you just cross the highway from opposite Yui
Oh yes.
and down
And
in the
go.
Morang.
I grew up on what street area? Yeah, by
Right,
down
so you
from
not
UWE.
to Morang.
Yeah. I was trying to remember where. Yeah, you couldn't go up in that area in them days and true.
Yeah.
No, I remember
but you know,
that.
I am not the type of guy beat up people for no reason. You know, I just will defend myself and defend others. But it had some of them guys who just they're smelling bad and want to be bad at the same time.
Well, I as a
Well,
Bajan, I just stand up for me and others.
yes,
I
I
always
understand.
get into trouble, Dr. Figuera, at school because I didn't take nonsense for too long. The only person I took nonsense from was that woman that bore me. And when I realized she was taking advantage of me, I fly at her. So I realized I is a Bajan and not Trini. I just born there.
But just
But
imagine,
I is a
Dr.
Bajan.
Figuera, that they lock man, wife, and children outside where they gone hungry and homeless outside the country, right? And and not for a few months, almost a year and something. Some of them, right? Wife calling me and crying how much she's stressed and how much she this and that. They want to kill themselves. And I mean, I went through the whole drill. All right. Um, and I'm wondering, where was their husband? On the ground, their husband on the ground in Trinidad.
Yeah.
You lock my wife out of the country and cause she to go homeless in a foreign country, and me and you gonna clash, pal. In fact, I clash with the government from here. It's the clash between me and the government that started this whole bacchanal and this war for Trinidad and Tobago citizens. Is me. I stand up to Rowley. I tell Stuart Young if he's man, when he won't answer me, I say, if you is man, there's the phone number, call me, because he was making decisions that constantly hurting our people. And I stood up to him and I tried to reach out to the Prime Minister thinking I know him because I met him in Ansem House and thinking, oh boy, maybe I could advise him a little bit, making a little bad decision. So maybe we could work together and fix things. And, I tried in the initial stage to try to kind of collaborate with them. And when they refused to collaborate, I had to pick up the fight.
Well,
so guys, I think we kept, Dr. Figuera very long enough, and we appreciate Dr.
We enjoyed the
Figuera
conversation.
always taking the time to come into the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And whenever Dr. Figuera comes in here, he shares quite a bit of information.
Knowledge.
And we like people when they come into the village, at least we share brain food to people who listen to us. And I always believe that when you listen to our program, at least you should get some type of brain food. When you go away, you should get some type of brain food, that you didn't have when you come in. So, Dr. Figuera, we really appreciate that you came in tonight. Any closing words before you go?
No, it has been my pleasure. And I hope and pray that we all continue, and I will see you all again and hear you all again and speak to you all again.
Definitely, we enjoy that, man.
Because we have many things to talk about. Because such is life.
So, Dr. Figuera, again, we want to say thank you very kindly, and we are going to be in contact with you soon for you to come back into the village.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye. All right. Gary, you have we partner in the back there and you ain't tell we,
Well, I know he was supposed to come, but I know he had something he was dealing with. So
no, but he's back there. He's back there.
Oh,
bring him in. Back there smiling, man.
Bring him in.
Who?
Hey, wait. Let me talk to Senator Lido. We're gonna get to you in a minute. You see that big smile you have on your face. No, Senator, when you come in, all of them here in the chat, all of them gonna be so happy. You can see all kind of smiling emoji, laughing emoji, plenty yellow emojis when you come in. Wait and you go see. Little Ron Horner gonna be happy too bad. Hey, Albert, how you man make me happy, but where's that one? Little Ron Horner only all night, but Little Ron Horner unhappy. Little Ron Horner, look, me Senator, let me bring him Senator Damian Lider here. Senator Lider, welcome to any village with the DAG Triplets. I'd rather tell you where in the villages. I just telling you welcome to any village because you're coming to make some people here happy in the village because there's all kind of name in here. Let me hold on. Senator, I just want you to know, let me select some of the names they call me in the village. Yeah? Hold on. Let me go through it real quick. I'll make a list. I'll make a list of names. But
wall track, wall hole,
wall track, wall hole, wall crack. Where the list, boy? Where the hell is this? The list gone.
Walrus.
Walnut.
Walnut, yeah.
Boy, oh no, Senator, give this list, man.
Dirt wall, dirt track,
dirt wall, dirt crack, dirt track.
But Senator, they call me Diana, the storm.
Yeah, here it is. Here the name now. Wall canal, gazette wall, latrine wall, wall hole, wallpaper, wall goodly, wall piper, wall nuts, wall A track, wall D track, the Great Wall of 95.9, wall gun, wall paint, wall of shame, the roof of wall Frederick Street, wall, what is this one?
Wall crawler.
Wall plugs, wall crack, and wall fly.
Wall crawler.
Wall crawler. I'm gonna write that one down. Wall crawler. Wall crawler.
A little bit like that thing, man, in the village, brother.
Yeah. So Senator Lider, you hear the names I get there? All kind of men in the village here. It's licks too bad. Back to take it. Well,
all I could say is good night to my brother, my PNM brother, Wall Street. I say good night to Gary. And I'm saying a very, very special good night to my Bajan Trinidad sister.
All right.
People getting jealous here now.
The reason why I'm singling out my Bajan sister tonight is because how proud she must feel today.
Yes.
How proud she must feel today, having a prime minister who made not a country proud, but made a Caribbean and by extension a world proud today. That is what you call strength. When you could see the president of the United States hold the lady hand and genuflect to the lady. I tell myself, oh Lord, oh God, could we borrow her temporarily? Or we will give you back. We will give you back. We promise we will give you back. Because if you don't want to vote this man out and let this lady called Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, who loves and cares for people and who did so much for children, laptops, hospital, baby grant, food grant, schools, over 106 schools. If you can't let that lady come and take over, let me just borrow the Bajan Prime Minister temporarily.
Senator Lider, before you go, guys, 1 minute. I wanted to also acknowledge Tommy. Tommy's always Tommy's the ladies call him the love child. So Tommy's also with us, Senator Lider.
Tommy, sorry,
I'm not seeing Caribbean Commissioner. We need to add that.
I'm not seeing all the members. I'm not seeing all the members. I only see my face.
But we like to highlight the individuals on the show, and we just put the other people in the background. We're a little different here, you know.
Yes. Beautiful. Good night, Tommy, and good night. And also let me also say, and let me say a special good night.
Hold on.
Boy.
Go ahead. I get it. I take it.
I want to say a special good night to all the listeners that are coming in tonight, whether you are from the UNC or whether you are reborn again. You may have been PNM and you are reborn again. You are opening your eyes to see the light, to see the rising sun. Welcome to all brothers and sisters of Trinidad and Tobago and the diaspora outside there. So good night to everyone.
But Senator, I wanna start with you because I know I could go down the show with you. I know I could go down the show with you because you've been in here before. Senator, I'm a little disappointed in because I heard your leader talk about women, and she said that the prime minister put women to the front. Right? I want you to actually listen to it. Listen to it.
Why is the prime minister hiding beneath the petticoats of these ladies? Why is the prime minister hiding behind underwear of petticoats of these ladies? Why? Why is he hiding? What do you have to hide? Why are you pushing these people? You have compromised their offices. Be man and man up. Why you want to condemn me and the women and we fighting? No, it is you. You are the center of this crisis, Prime Minister. Man up to it and don't push the ladies in front of you to protect yourself. You have the president there, push her in the front to take the fall. You had the speaker now, push her in front there. Poor lady was so beleaguered today, you could see it on her face with all the questions about the process. And where's the Prime Minister? Sitting there for over 3 hours.
Now, Senator, I wanted to listen to this other part, and I didn't hear, and let's say that, all right, I agree with your leader. But I want you to...
This insipid jackass we have for a president. And yes, that is what she is. Because she has facilitated.
Now, Senator, I hear what your leader said, right? And I was kind of disappointed that, and a fish doesn't rotten from the tail, right? And I believe that. I think the UNC has a women league. I believe that the UNC Women League would have stood up and says, Senator David Nakid, regardless of what other people says, we cannot go down that same road and disrespect one of the highest office in the country, the president, like that. What do you say, Senator?
Let me tell you something. Now, a big part of the country, before we get into that, right? You see, I hear people hurling insults about Senator Nakid and so on, right? But I find it passing strange that for the past 6 years, and even before that, under the Prime Minister Keith Christopher Rowley, we have heard Keith Rowley speak some of the most vile things about women. Women are golf courses, they need to be groomed. We hear the man say, go drink your rum, get out of here. I will, I'll bark at your dog because I ignore she cat. And that was the now Prime Minister saying that about the same opposition leader that you bring up here today. There has been an ongoing saga of commentary coming out of the Prime Minister, even when he was in opposition and today. Right? So, one second, I have a little young one that jumping into the fray here. Let me just
bring them on. Bring them on.
Good.
Say hello.
Good.
Go by mama. All right, go by mama. 1 second, huh?
No, go ahead. Put your thing on thing. Yeah.
Well.
Right, so there I have my little boss lady come and check on me there.
All right, okay.
So I have listened to this Prime Minister from since the day he's in opposition all the way to now on countless occasions speak about women in derogatory terms. In fact, it was just a week ago the man bounced down a lady in a golf course and did not even take the time to get out to help the lady up. So you know, I tend to say, you know, where was the PNM Women's League when this happened? Where were all these activists that get out women's rights to stand up to a Prime Minister? And does he have the right to turn around and say these things about ladies? Why? These are things that are on record. You can check them on video. I'm not saying something that's untrue. There are many videos circulating about the many things that this Prime Minister has said. So I'm not making this story up, right? And the fact is, when Mrs. Prasad Bissessa speaks about hiding behind the petticoat, look, let us call it as it is, okay? We have just witnessed the biggest breach of our constitution. We have witnessed the degradation of democracy in this country. The first time in the history of our nation have we seen democracy been trampled on to the point where we now have no substantive or even an acting commissioner of police, no leadership in the police service at this point in time. And I can't believe that we are standing here talking about who say about petticoat when our country is burning. Crime is now completely out of control in this country now. We've seen a surge in crime on Wall Street. No offense, my brother, you know I love you to death. But here we are squabbling about, well, who talk about petticoat and who talk about...
Senator, I don't mean to cut you, right? I'm not talking about petticoat. I am saying that the opposition leader talks about putting women to the front, right? And it's like he was dishonoring women. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the petticoat. I'm saying you have all these women up front. And I'm saying to you, Senator Leader, that I haven't heard, and listen to me carefully, right? I haven't heard anyone in the UNC come out and say to Senator David Naked, you know, Senator Naked, an eye for an eye only make the whole world blind. That's a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. In that your statement, so because if the Prime Minister calls people ass and all these names, it's acceptable for Senator David Naked to call the president an insipid jackass. That's what you're telling me.
Let me tell you something.
We're not saying that, but go ahead.
No. I have not called the president this, but I want to tell you something, Wall Street.
Yeah.
We have a situation now in Trinidad, right, where the level of unhappiness towards persons in power, whether they are a man or a woman, right? Because this is not somebody, we keep talking about, well, the president is a woman. This is not about man or woman, you know. This is about persons in public office, in places of power, that are trampling on our constitution. And so nobody's sitting down saying, well, boy, you keep hearing people talk about, well, the president is a woman. If the president is a woman, if the president is a man, if the president is Hindu, Christian, Muslim, if the president white, black, or Chinese, that is irrelevant. What is relevant here is the fact that there are people now who are frustrated in this country, who are seeing people in places of power who are openly and nakedly trampling on our constitution, walking all over it as they feel. Independent institutions are being breached and being compromised and being infiltrated by the executive arm of the state, the political arm of the state. So it don't make a difference if it's a man or a woman. It is the position, it is the fact that our constitution is being breached, right? Yes, we know there are going to be people who jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, somebody talk about a woman and somebody talk about this. This is not about man or woman. I think that the Senator Nake would have talked about it separate, whether there's a man or woman, right? The point I'm saying is that we have to look at the bigger picture that has transpired and that now has thousands of citizens in this country frustrated and saying a lot worse words than you now telling me about the president, about the Police Service Commission and the head, all four who have now resigned in disgrace, shamefully, and an executive arm of the state who fails to come to this nation to say what has happened. And here it is. It is on record now that the merit list on the 12th of August was received from Blissy Prasad to the president And that same day, the president is on record stating that this merit list is sent back to the Police Service Commission. And then there is reports of a member or senior member of the executive arm of the state who intervened and intercepted this merit list at the president's house. And to this day, the president has failed to come out to the population, to the nation, to say what happened, who from the executive arm was in her house. Bliss Prasad has gone absolutely quiet, silent, disappeared off the face of the earth. And we have a constitutional crisis on our hands now, where a merit list, which it is suspected that it could be Gary Griffith that was on the top of that list. But whoever it was at the top of the list, if that merit list, in terms of our constitution, 123.3, the Police Service Commission shall send the merit list to the president. 123.4 in our constitution, the president shall send, on receipt of the merit list, send it to the parliament for debate. Not may, or I'll think about it, or let me see what will happen. Not shall Marshall or Marshall Montano. Shall. You have to. It is law. It is in our constitution. This is the real crisis today, Wall Street. So I hear where, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole of talking about, well, who said this because the president is a woman. The president took an oath of office, whether she's a man or a woman. She took an oath of office. And today, our honorable lady has a lot to answer for. And there are a lot of citizens in this country who are very concerned and very angry by this situation. And let me tell you, Wall Street, especially when we see the surge in crime that has transpired in the past 11 or 12 weeks, when we have the absence of a police commissioner or an acting, a substantive police commissioner or an acting police commissioner.
But
these
Senator Leiter,
yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I hear you, right? But
yeah,
we have to be honest, right? And here is the TTPS asserting there's no spike in murder since Gary Griffith left. So let's hear me out here. So what I'm saying is that we have Gary Griffith saying one thing, let me remove that, and we have the TTPS saying another thing. And then we have you coming here and saying the same thing what Gary Griffith is saying. Right? Who's telling the truth?
Right. Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. The reason why you see my eyes are looking a bit sleepy is because I was up at 5:30 this morning preparing for a talk show at WESN this morning to discuss exactly this.
Oh,
right?
Andy Johnson? Was that with Andy Johnson? That was with Andy Johnson,
yeah,
no?
Andy Johnson, yes. That's what Andy Johnson
was here, man, two days ago. He was here on
the
program. Yeah,
right.
Go ahead.
Well, you're a man that has, I've been following you, and you have a lot of quality on your show.
We appreciate that.
And that's why it's always a pleasure being on here. But let's get to the facts here now, right? I am holding no brief for no Gary Griffith. I am holding a brief for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I am holding a brief for my family. And you see the little one that just come and interrupt us just now? I'm holding a brief for her, right? Now, these are the facts. These are the facts. In the first, and I don't have any documents with me. I had them all this morning, but I'm going to try to do it from my head because I did my own level of research. So what we are seeing happening, what you would call the PR from the TTPS is doing right now, because realizing that a constitutional crisis is indeed in full force, realizing that the population is very concerned about the fact that there's no real leadership in the form of a commissioner of police. The TTPS now, led by McDonald Jacob, is being led by a DCP at this point in time, accounting officer. And I'm not going to take any opportunities to attack Mr. Jacob. He's an officer serving the country, and so I am not going to attack Mr. Jacob. And to be honest, the constitutional crisis that is happening now, he had no hand. He could not have a hand in it because it was not within his power to have a hand in it. Even if he's favored by the Prime Minister, he didn't have a hand in it, right? So I'm not going to take time to criticize the gentleman, but I'm going to call the facts as is seen in the numbers. Now, the statement came out by the PR and then by the DCP Jacob when in the Express a few days ago, he indicated that all hope is not lost, that we are at the same murder rate year to date as of the 30th of October as we were by the 30th of October in 2020. Now that's a very interesting way to spin numbers to make it seem as though, well, we have no spike. But let us look at the reality. Between January 1st and August the 16th, which is when the commissioner, the substantive commissioner of police and then acting commissioner of police demitted office, there were 50 less murders year to date, right, between January and August. So they were sailing, if you kept that exact same trajectory, they were sailing to a record low in the murder rate this year. So there are 50 less. Between August the 17th and the 31st of October, that period, August, midway through August, September, October, there were 50 more murders in that 2.5 month spread, almost one extra murder per day in that period that basically canceled out the decline that happened between January and August the 16th, canceled it and put us on par. But what does that mean? We're on par, but we've had a bloody spike in the murders. It has happened. When we see 50 more in 2.5 months, you realize that there is indeed a spike. And I'll tell you something. You don't even need the statistics. So hold on. Now, if we go with the one extra murder per day that is now being averaged from August the 17th to now, November, the first week of November, and we are going at one extra, then what we are going for is we are going for well over 400 murders this year, right? With November and December remaining, we're looking to cross 400 murders when we were at 390 something in 2020. And here's the other interesting thing you need to take into account, Wall Street. This spike, and now that you hear the numbers, Wall Street, you can't deny that there's a spike. This spike is happening in the height of a state of emergency where we were locked down from 9 p.m. and now it's moved to 10 p.m. To 5 a.m. in the morning. So we are in a state of emergency where police have extended powers of arrest, right? Country lockdown, and we are seeing this spike versus last year in 2020, where we did not have a state of emergency and a lockdown. We had merely, the public health ordinance that we had to obey. So it's clearly a spike. And anyone who's living in Trinidad and Tobago will tell you in the last month, there has been a plethora of different types of crime happening. We see the reemergence of kidnapping. In the month of October, I think it was in the earlier part of October, a central businessman kidnapped. And then on the 23rd, 24th, 25th, we see a taxi driver man kidnapped, he jump out of the car. Then we see a lady on the 24th, I think it is, of October. Don't kill me for a day or two if I'm wrong. But the 24th of October, a lady jumping out of a car in broad daylight to get away from kidnappers. We see a security guard who's securing a cigarette distribution company who's distributing cigarettes, murdered by 7 gangsters. We are seeing home invasions happening every single day, and it's not so. I say so. It's not just murders alone. It's home invasions. It's kidnapping. You know, all types of crime we are seeing now escalating in this country, and you would have to be blind as a bat to not recognize what is happening right now and to know that there's no spike in this country. And
Senator Leiter, let me say to you, over the past 20 years, over the past 13 years, the highest spike in murders in Trinidad and Tobago is between 2017 and 2019. In 2017, there was 494 murders. In 2019, there was 538 murders, the second highest murders in the history of Trinidad and Tobago under Gary Griffith. So who is Gary Griffith to come now talk about spike? When under his reign, we had the highest spike in the last 13 years in Trinidad and Tobago. This is facts.
But again, you keep looking at numbers.
Hold on, Gary, hold straight. Because what Wall Street forget, what my partner Wall Street forget is that he tried this one on me the last time I came on, and I'm going to answer him the exact same way. That's why I love your Wall Street. But I feel that I take some ginkgo, some ginseng and things for the memory, right? But what I want to tell you is this, right? That you remember the man was in a 3-year contract. So he came in, right? 2019, 2021.
August 2018. Right? August 2018.
Right. So August 2018. So he comes into the service. So he comes into the service in August 2018. He comes into a service where the population or the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago had a 14% trustworthiness in the TTPS. There was a perceived rampant corruption within the TTPS. There was a perception that the head of the TTPS was asleep on the job. I don't know that was what being said. I don't know the gentleman personally, right?
Which was totally inaccurate. Totally inaccurate.
Right. But hold on. These murders were happening in 2018, 2019. It's 2018 and 2019. 2018, I think, was 500 something. 2019 was 500 something.
The second highest murder rate in the history of Trinidad and Tobago.
So here comes Gary Griffith coming in right almost at the end of 2018 into 2019. Now, you know, it reminds me of when a government is voted into power. People expect that the government will turn around a poor economy, a raped treasury in the first 6 months and a year. It takes a government or a period of time to implement new policy, to put together new teams, and to put in place new strategy to weed out some of the ills of the past and to effect change. In a business, it's the same. If I take over a business that has been poorly run, that has been corruption in the business and so on, it will take me a period of time to weed out persons who might have been stealing from the warehouse, persons who may have been running the company, how they feel like running the company in their way, and then it will take me a period of time to turn things around. So Mr. Griffith is no different than any other human, and whether it was Griffith, or whether it was Jacob, or whether it was King Tut, or whoever it was that came into the service at that time, came into a police service that was under-financed, under-resourced, was the morale was at its lowest, the public perception was at its lowest in the police service, and here was a man walking in to a basic time bomb waiting to explode of crime and of corruption within this service. Here's a man that walked inside of there. And he obviously would have inherited whatever the situation was. He would have taken him time in 2019 to have put his own people in, to put in his own strategy, to put in systems, to implement new technology, new way of doing things. And I want you to hear this part, yeah? This is an important part. So by 2020, we saw a murder rate which dropped below 400. So here we have a situation.
Because of the pandemic. Because of the pandemic, Senator Leiter. Let's be honest.
You know what? I'll tell you something. I don't agree with that. I'll tell you why. Because you had a pandemic. You had a pandemic. You know something? It should have been worse.
Venezuela.
But Senator Leiter, here the other thing, eh? Gary Griffith got an additional $34 million.
Yes.
An additional $34 million.
Yeah.
An additional $34 million. In 2018, it was 516 murders, the third highest, right? If Gary Griffith was so good, it went to 538. And here's the catch now, eh? In 2020, under a pandemic, the borders closed, we locked down, we broke down, nothing flying in, BWM coming in, BOAC coming in, Parliament coming in, nobody coming in, right?
No,
we had 396 murders.
You come back with that one too.
The Venezuelans were coming in.
Wall Street. You come back with that one too. Oh gosh, Wall Street, like you're forgetting you tried that one too. All right. Wall Street. You know who was locked out? Hold on, Gary. You know who was locked out? Let me tell you, the borders were closed. The borders were not closed, Wall Street. The official borders, the official borders were closed, right? The citizens of our country, the citizens of the law-abiding citizens of our country who had a right, who had a constitutional right to return to their native land, they were locked out of the country. All the airports were closed. Citizens who had businesses, citizens who had homes, wives, families, jobs, they were locked out. But let me tell you who was not locked out. You see down porous borders from Venezuela, where the drugs, the guns, the illegal immigrants were coming in. They were coming in full force during that pandemic, Wall Street. I have had countless videos of Venezuelan vessels, fishing boats, sailing into Chagaramas, sailing up to our jetties. And when they arrive, no Coast Guard, no quarantine, no testing, no customs and excise and immigration. They're just pulling up to our jetties, walking off in our jetties, walking into our land, and they're coming inside our land, I don't know, with Brazilian variant. And then we're seeing all of these, in the last couple of years, all these high-powered rifles, machine gun, grenade, bomb, all kind of things coming in through the porous borders and into the hands of gangsters in Trinidad. And then we saw an influx of gangsters from Venezuela coming into Trinidad as well. What's the name of the gang again, boy? The Bandera gang, or I can't remember the name of the gang.
Yeah, I saw something on it.
Yes, there were gangs coming into the country, all right, and gang leaders, and they were coming and setting up factions in Trinidad and working along with our Trinidad gangsters. So Wall Street, that's not true. The borders were not closed. The borders were wide open to the point where now we have an estimated close to 200,000 illegal immigrants that live in this country. Many of them are law-abiding illegal immigrants who looking just for a little work, a little job, working in a bar, working in a restaurant. But then you have an element who are working in brothels and who are working with gangsters in the street, who are bringing in guns, drugs, ammunition into this country. So to say that our borders were locked down is everything from the truth. Everything from the truth. And so therefore, and in fact, I want to tell you, Wall Street, what changed was the situation in Venezuela worsened. The economic situation in Venezuela has gotten worse in the last 3 years under the Maduro communist style regime, dictatorship, where we have seen crash of the Venezuelan economy, where we've seen COVID-19 pandemic rip through Venezuela, tear through, and the economy destroyed, which forced thousands, millions of citizens of Venezuela to flee Venezuela, to go into Brazil, to go into Chile, to go into Central America, Colombia, and about 200,000 coming into Trinidad, and many reports on unsavory characters. We saw many murders in Trinidad in the same 500 and something you talking about there, Wall Street. Check and see how many of them surname was Juan Vandera and Juan Guerra Vandera and Juan Feliz Complianos Feliz. How much of them was named that? Plenty of them was named that, youngster. So to say that we had a situation that was normal and the spike in the murder rate happened, well, let me tell you something, partner. It was everything from normal. Porous borders, gangsters coming into our country, big guns, big ammunition, and we had a commissioner of police who walked inside, took the reins in 2018, spent 2019 cleaning up a lot of the rogue elements of the service, while he was being underfinanced, while I think it was over in the period of time, in the 3 years, in the budgets that were allocated to him at that time, to the police, not to him, sorry, to the TTPS, because he's not the TTPS. The TTPS is an entity. He just led the TTPS at that time. We saw over $400 million in allocations in that 3 years to the TTPS, and we saw it in the yellow books. So I'm not guessing this. In the yellow books during the budget, over $400 million that was not distributed to the TTPS, that was put on allocation to them in the budget. So you have so this man was under-resourced, and here we have a situation in a pandemic in 2020 when the country was open, when more people are unemployed and desperate, when more illegal immigrants are coming in, and the murder rate dropped to under 400 murders. And now,
Senator, the facts that you will have a little more facts than I do, right? I will agree with that. But the facts in the public domain states that Gary Griffith got an additional $34 million in his budget for the TTPS, which was an increase about 38% over the budget he previously received during the same time period. But Senator, you know, I hear you say that.
Wall Street, before you cut me off on that fact, before you cut me off on that fact.
I'm going to cut you off.
Before you cut me on that fact, there's a difference between given an allocation of 30-something million more and actually getting the allocation.
Exactly.
For example, we saw in the 2021 budget a statement made by the Minister of Finance that said that we are diversifying this economy and using it through agriculture, and we are providing $500 million to the Ministry of Agriculture for diversification projects, for innovation projects with farmers in this country. And you know, when we were looking in the books to find out where this $500 million was, we looking all through agriculture, through the Agriculture Ministry. Looking, can't find it. Where is this thing, boy? When we asked the question in during the Standing Finance Committee, where the 500 million? We're not seeing it. You're boasting about it. You know that the 500 million was kept under the Ministry of Finance for special projects. We say, okay, it's there. So at some point in time, they have to allocate it. Do you know in the end of the year, of the financial year, and coming into this budget, you know how much of that $500 million was actually allocated? Well, first of all, 10 million of the 500 million was actually sent across to the Ministry of Agriculture, right, for grants. And another 60-something, I can't remember the exact figure, 60-something million was used from the Ministry of Finance to pay for the food box program, which is not a sustainable program. It is basically a program that was helping to get citizens of the country some food boxes during this very difficult time of unemployment and COVID. And I would have thought that that money would have come from the billions of dollars they took from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund in the name of COVID, I would have thought that would have come from there, and that the monies for the 500 million would have actually been spent to diversify the economy in the agricultural sector through innovative projects. I would have thought that would have happened. But be that as it may, 60-something million was spent on food boxes. So a total of just over $70 million of the 500 million was actually spent. And then we come back in the budget 2020, 21-22, and here they come now saying, well, we are putting 300 million now for this project. So I say, well, hold on, wait a minute. You say put in 500 million last year. You spent 70-something million this year. You come back now, having only spent 70-something million, and then you come back now and say, well, it's 300 million we put in this time. So you cut it, and you still expect the farmers and the citizens of the country to believe that you're going to actually spend that $300 million. You couldn't even spend 100 of the 500 million. But you commit a mama guy the nation with 300 million, and they think I forget that when we were in a finance bill earlier, before the budget presentation, they think I forget when the question was asked about the $500 million. They said, no. That 500 million will be used this year and it will carry over into next year. And I said to myself, okay, well, if it's going to carry over into next year, then the maths in, because if you take away 70 million from 500 million, we're left with, you're supposed to be left with 430, but I see 300 million. The maths in. So that is what I want to tell you, Wall Street, that even though they will use statistics to spin arguments to make people look bad, whether it is Gary or whoever it is, you have to look at the facts at the end of the day, and facts are a stubborn thing. You may have allocated 30-something million more for the TTPS, but what did you actually spend? Because I just came to you with a number that we got from the yellow books. This is the books. We have made this up.
But Senator, we know that it's a fact that, and I'm reading here now, our contract employment increased from 50-something million to 88-point-something million. And if we are saying that Gary Griffith, right, had all the borders open and everything else, he had $34 extra million to spend just on employment alone, $34 extra million, right? And we understand now that a lot of that 34 millions was spent with his friends and people close to him, right? As a matter of fact, there was one of the gentlemen who was on social media. He was actually an employee of the TTPS, one of those 19 contracts that they rescinded. And he was on social media defending Gary Griffith like if it's a regular customer, and he was working for the TTPS. You see? So
now Wall Street. Yeah. You are a rational thinking man, right? I listen to you all the time. You're a rational thinking man. I know sometimes you just bite into the belly. You drink the belly.
Yeah.
And the sun dripping out your mouth and things like that.
And that's drink passion fruit too, you know. And I drink passion fruit too.
And you know I love you not the same. I love you the same no matter what. And I can't wait when the day that I sit with you and drink, and you could drink your Balize red juice, and I could drink a little pineapple rising sun juice, right? But at the end of the day, we have to come now and say, all right, let me put aside the political hat for a moment, because this matter is actually not really politics. This is an independent agency we are speaking about, and this is an important agency where the lives and livelihoods of people are being affected by the fact that we have no leadership now at the helm, right? But I want to ask you this. It's like in any other institution, right? If you walk into an institution that you know has been affected through, and again, let me set the context first. There are many police officers in the TTPS who are hardworking, honest, and dedicated patriots to our country. And we must recognize that many of them are putting their lives on the line for us every single day. And we must not try to tarnish the TTPS overall with this broad brush, right? But you and I know that over the years, there's been a perceived level of corruption. There has been a perceived level of mismanagement. Otherwise, the country would not have been excited when Gary Griffith came to the helm. Whether you like him or not, there were people that were excited. Otherwise, you wouldn't have people that have voted and rated the man at 80% approval rating, right? But one man alone doesn't make up an entire unit. One man alone could never do that. It takes a team of people to be able to make something work. There's no I in team. And therefore, to say that, well, Gary Griffith reduced crime, I will not say that. I would say Gary Griffith as commissioner, along with his team, whether they are the contracted team and whether they are also officers with substantive posts in the service that all work together to decline the murder rate in 2020 and into 2021. When you look at that, you have to understand that this man was walking in to a minefield. That's how it is, walking into a minefield. So it is safe to expect that he is going to want to bring in certain people that he may have trust in, certain people that may be professionals, that may be tried, tested, and proven, let's say, in the protective services, where he came from, in the regiment, Coast Guard, Air Guard, right? Subject matter experts. Because look, for example, there was one of the 19 that dealt with the training of police officers on how to manage a situation when interacting with people, how to manage your firearm, how to talk with people, and people through the country started to see a change in the way in which the police service interacted with the general population. An increased sense of professionalism. That person was a contracted person. That person had programs running in the TTPS. And it was a work in progress. You can't change it overnight. It will take time to change. So that person was there. And there were other persons that he would have had inside of there that would have been trusted people. Because when you were inside an organization where you could have daggers pulled at you at any point in time, for you to get set up, for you to get licked up. Because listen, if the man was busting up any kind of corruption inside of there, he's stepping on man's corner, and it's safe to say, and the man has argued about so much of death threat he get, so much so much people undermine him and so on. So it is safe to understand that he would want to bring in persons that he know was either subject matter experts or trusted persons that he could depend on to help to push forward on the agenda of changing the culture, changing the performance of the TTPS. And that is whether it is Gary Griffith or whether it is any other. When we had Iwatsky and our next fellow we named Iwatsky and them two Canadians that came inside, right?
Dwayne Gibbs and Iwatsky.
I remember it plain as day. Them fellas was getting undermined left is right. Because as a local, I would have said, oh, who the hell these foreigners coming inside here to take over the TTPS and things like that, wherever. They got nowhere. They accomplished nothing, and they had to end up leaving.
Senator. No, you can't say they accomplished nothing. Under them, the murder rate was 354, which was the lowest in the past 9-10 years under Dwayne Gibbs and Iwatsky. So we cannot say they didn't do anything.
So you have to admit that the UNC government made a difference.
Who was the government at that time? Wall Street? I'm just curious. I can't remember.
And that's just to show you. I am not biased, and I don't go and pick things because it's UNC or PNM. Right?
Well,
but you got to admit. And that's why.
Yes, and that's why I love your Wall Street, because you will admit when you know good governance, good government is in power, and when you know that
I ain't going.
He can't admit that.
No, listen.
Well, the crime rate fell on UNC. And wait now, who is the minister of national security at the time. At one point in time, wasn't it Gary Griffith? Anyhow, let's move on. The point is, right? The point is, let's get back serious. The point is that
Senator Hola thought right there. Let's go for a quick station identification. It's in the village of DAG Triplets from WZYE 95.9 FM. We have no other than no stranger to in the village as Senator Damian Leiter. So let's go for a quick station identification. Stick and stay, don't go nowhere. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And of course, we come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. Stick and stay, don't go nowhere.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
Of course, we are back with you. It's in the village with the DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us in the village tonight no other than Senator Damian Leiter, and we always have a wonderful, spirited discussion in the village with the DAG Triplets. Senator, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Wall Street again. Always happy to be here, and so I want to close that point with the 19 persons who I think they were assessed in a record period of about 5 days, right? And when they were assessed in that record period, they were seen to be of no longer much value and so on, and was a money saving venture, whatever. You know, Wall Street. This is one of the, and I hear myself echoing again. That's why I know I'm echoing. But
okay, hold on.
But Wall Street, you want to know what you want to know what is the sad thing is, and something that we really have to change in the way we do things, right? And this is not just in the TTPS. It is in government. It is in institutions. Whenever there's a change in government, whenever there's a change in leadership in certain institutions and stuff like that, what we see happening quite regularly or quite frequently is almost like a collapse of initiatives that was working, that was doing well for the entity, because there's a change in leadership. And there comes a time where we have to be mature enough as a nation to say, all right, we've changed government. All right, no problem. Should we really stop the opening of the Children's Hospital, for example? So the Children's Hospital was just about completed when Kamla Prasad Bisesa left office, and then it took the current administration over 4 years and a pandemic to finally open that hospital. I mean, that was a hospital meant for children. That was a hospital meant for medical tourism, because it was not just for children for Trinidad and Tobago, but it was meant for children through the region or anywhere else in the world who could have come to Trinidad to seek medical help for an ailing child. And what we saw was a change in government, a shelving of that hospital for over 4 years, and then they pulled down the name of the hospital, Children. First, the PNM do have so little love for children. Take away milk grant, food grant, take away laptops, take away gate. You know, the children get battered and bruised in the past 6 years. But anyway, but the hospital with the children name on it, pull down that sign to spend another $500,000 on a lit sign. I don't know how much they spend on it, because them lit sign must cost real money. And to put up an next lit sign saying wherever hospital, and there's a pandemic that caused it to be open. And so when, and it's not that, you know, all right, it was a project that was marred in corruption and there's an investigation going on in that project and stuff like that. There was no investigation, nothing. So why was there not the political maturity to continue on with this objective of opening a children's hospital? Even if you wanted this to pull down the child sign, but open the hospital. And that is where, as a nation, we have to start to become more mature politically, more mature, and say, well, look, let us take it for what it is. If there were good initiatives, let us continue the good initiatives.
I agree
if
with
there
that.
were initiatives that were questionable, let us get rid of those initiatives.
I fully agree.
As far as I'm concerned, you cannot tell me that you were able to, in 5 days or 6 days, assess these 19 persons to be able to say, well, you know, we don't need them, we will save some money, and there are people in the police service that could do it. I don't buy that. I simply believe there was a regime change, and like how things is going in this country, them who was aligned with the past regime, them gone, and new people come. I guess that's just how it goes, eh?
Well, Senator, that is how the way the system is set up, you know. And when you're on a contract and your contract ends, I could decide to let you go. A contract is only as good as the paper it's written. No. If you have a contract, I could decide after 2 years in the contract, listen, I don't need you no more. I just pay you off for the rest of the contract, and you go your way rejoicing. I mean, that's what a contract is. Yeah?
Stick a small pin there. Stick a very small pin there. You hear what you now say there, Wall Street?
Yeah.
You just say, I could decide to just pay you the balance of the contract. Now hear this. That is if it's your money, Wall Street. Now you take out your pocket and you decide to tell Diana, darling, here what's going on. Wherever it is we have with the DAG Triplets here, hold a little piece of money and go now. Right? That is if you want to do that. But remember, this is taxpayers' money you are talking about here. This is the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the citizens of our country, whose taxpayer money you talking about. And you're telling me that this fella who have a 2-year contract or 3-year contract, that might be 1 year through his contract, and not properly assessed. You just simply say, well, hey, what's going on? Well, I can just pay you off. So you taking taxpayers' money to pay a man off for work he's supposed to give you for next year?
Because we're saving money. If we could get somebody else to do the same job, we're saving money.
What money is saving?
If we could get somebody else to do the same job, and I have to pay you $100,000 a year, right? If I had to pay off 19 earlier, right? And I had to pay only off 2 million, right? And I could get somebody to do that same job that all you're doing. Eventually, I'll save money because I don't have to pay that money anymore.
Hear what I would have done, Wall Street. Hear what I would have done as a businessman. I would have said, well, hold on. Let me assess these fellas here. Okay. Let's see the ones who are adding value and whatever the case may be. They were all doing some kind of a job. And I would have said, okay, if there are people in the service that can do this job, but I already paying these people or I'm obligated to pay these people on contract. So if I send them home tomorrow, I still have to pay them for next year. Well, it's better I keep them into the whole of next year working for the money, for the taxpayers' money that's spending on them. And I would then take my officers in the system, work alongside them, train under them, or if they could do it just as good, work along with them. And when the contract is up in a year's time, you shake their hand, you say, thank you for your service. I have spent the taxpayers' money wisely, and now I have people in the police service who may be better trained, who may have a little bit more knowledge, right? Because you can't tell me that you know everything. Wall Street, if you and I tomorrow morning decide to sit down and discuss a project, you might come with something I mightn't think of. I might come with something you mightn't think of. And together, we will build something magnificent. So why can't you not turn around and say, well, all right, I'm already obligated to paying taxpayers' money to these people, right? Why waste the money and just give it to them and tell them go their way? And why not put them to work alongside other officers?
Yeah, because we're going in a different direction now. We're going in a different direction. We're not going in the same direction before.
Some plan. There was a plan that was presented. Me, I ain't hear no plan.
No,
what I hear is murders going up.
And you crime in charge now. We're going in a different direction.
Yeah, we're going in a direction of crime escalating. We're going in a direction.
No, you pull them numbers out of the act. No. The TTPS tells us that crime is not escalating. That's what the TTPS tells us. You telling us something different.
Here now, Wall Street. I was listening to the Douglas on Doubles and Coffee before coming on the program here this afternoon, right?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I don't have the article, but you see, because of what you now tell me there, I promise you I'm going to find that article. And I'm coming on. I will wait a little bit. I'll let you get a little cool down because I find like there's fire burning you under your feet here this evening, right? But I will wait a little bit, and I'm gonna bring that article where a police officer, I wish I could remember the name of him, but he sat down on an interview either yesterday or today, and he spelled out the numbers in the last 4 months versus 4 months of last year. And he showed where each month it was like 20 murders this month, this year 35 murders. This year, the next month after that, September, 20-something murders. This September, 30-something murders. And he showed that in the 3 to 4 months, while this constitutional crisis is happening, while there's been no leadership, no substantive police commissioner or acting commissioner of police, right? And in fact, there were 3 DCPs. Now there's only 1 because the 2 other DCPs, the ladies, Miss Archie and another Christopher, I believe her name is, they had to revert back to the position of ACP. So there's only 1 DCP there now, and so therefore there's an absence of leadership at the top. And during that period of time is when we saw the spike in the murders. Now I'll tell you something. I want to capture a point there because I find it's important for us to capture. But before I get to that, so I'm saying to you that we had 50 less murders between January and August, right before Gary demitted office. And now we are seeing a current spike. So here was this officer reading out the statistics today. And I'm going to get the article and I'm going to send it to you. Gary, go get by tonight, right? And then later on in the evening, in the same evening, we have the PR of the TTPS coming out and saying, no, there's no spike. There's no spike at all in the murders. And trying to tell us the murders are the same year to date as they were last year. But you cannot play around with numbers. Facts are a stubborn thing. And the facts are in the last 12 weeks, while this debacle has been going on, there's been a substantial rise in the murder rate by an average of 1 extra murder per day. And that is why we will have this conversation in January, right? If something drastic doesn't happen. And let me tell you something. I hope and I pray that I am wrong. I hope and I pray for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago that I am completely wrong and that Mr. Jacob, with all greatest respect to him, that he is able to stifle this surge that's happening right now, so that we fall under 400 murders this year, and that we stop this beginning of a kidnapping trend happening, and we stop this shooting of business people and this home invasions. I sincerely hope that he is able to work with the police service to affect change very quickly to stop the spike, so that we end up, but at the current rate, taking numbers and not being biased, we are heading to over 400 murders for the year, which will be an increase over last year. So it is not safe to say. Now the thing you have to take into account is this. And this is things that he does not have control over, the DCP Jacob. He doesn't have control over it, right? One is the increased decimation of our economy, where our economy continues to decline at a rampant rate, where we see unemployment figures at the highest in decades. When we were able to get information from the NIB, when we had to get a Freedom of Information Act on Minister Imbert to come out and tell us how many contributors are contributing to the NIB, right? There are now it came out that there is 112,000 less persons contributing to the to NIS in Trinidad and Tobago. You know what that means? That means 112,000 people unemployed. Maybe some of them might be selling something at the side of the road to compensate and stuff, but many of them are home unemployed, and that is the formal sector. when we look at the informal sector, with all these bars and rum shop and restaurant thing having been closed for all these months, only now being reopened, many who are not properly registered and so on were also unemployed. So there was an estimate to be close to 200,000 persons that were on the breadline. When that happens, when we see unemployment skyrocketing, social systems, social programs falling apart, when we see independent institutions being breached by the executive arm of the state, when we see all of these things happening, and when you couple that with a situation in the police service where there is no substantive commissioner of police, and what does that mean? More than 2,800 police officers who are unable to get their promotions, to move up in the ranks, to increase their pay grade, right? Many of them working of 2013 salaries. 2013 salaries, eh? Can you imagine the possible demotivation that can happen if you were working in a job Wall Street?
But Senator, yeah. Listen to this, right? You know, this has only been, Gary Griffith left in August, right? We are now in November, August, September, October, November. It's 3 months, right? They have waited 7 years, right? They have waited 8 years to get a raise. What is another 2 months or so? But Senator, you know, I mean, I know.
Yeah, but there was already demotivation, Wall Street, and I'm saying that is not. That is just one factor. But I'm coupling.
Yeah, you're a civil servant. You're supposed to work. You're for your country. You're working for your country, right? If they don't get it now, when time comes, they will just get the bad pay.
Well, you tell that. Well, watch me. You tell that. You tell that to the cashier in the supermarket. When you walk up to there with 2013 salary, and goods and food in this country has skyrocketed, where some critical items like oil, sugar, butter, critical items have increased by 40, 60, 80, 100% increase in prices.
But Senator, that is because of the supply chain. Things have increased drastically here too in America. We have a place called Dollar Tree where you can go and get dollar items. It's not a dollar items anymore. They're now going to be $2 each. That's happening across the world because of the supply chain. That's not just
Slim, money is a serious motivating factor. And in Trinidad and Tobago, I suspect this is happening. Correct me if I'm wrong, Senator. You have those individuals who may be civil servants, and they have taken up the slack now of being the breadwinner for the disenfranchised ones who were affected by the pandemic at 2013 salaries, with prices going skyrocketing high, and people losing their jobs, and people have to hide their cars, and the fees on their accounts at the bank, and the mortgage and all that. That's a demoralizing factor. We here in America didn't have to deal with that. We getting stuck. We got stuck.
Why didn't Gary Griffith do something when he was commissioner?
This had nothing to do with Gary Griffith. This is
But
something to do with 13 salaries.
You see why Mia May Motley made the world so proud, boy. Oh God, I see Bajan coming out of this lady here today. I tell you, rub some of that off on us now, man. Oh gosh.
You can't. The people cannot work at 2013 salary. That is money is a demotivation.
You just taking the year from Senator Leiter and you running
No, I've been saying this in my life. I have been
and you taking that.
If you listen to my lives, you would hear me say that. I have been saying that. And watch it, Senator Leiter. Give me a minute, please, if you don't mind, sir.
Yes,
the nurses are frustrated and tired. They said it. They're tired. They're demoralized. They're tired with the overwhelming of the cases, number one. And then when they look at the paycheck that they're busting the NN for.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? I'll tell you something, yeah? And you are right about one thing. There is a supply chain issue in the world, and we are all aware that it is beyond the control of governments. But I can tell you what governments can do. They can either alter the salaries of public servants, up from 2013, or if they are not able to do that, they can find innovative ways to assist in the acceleration of food prices. And let me explain to you just two. They came to us in this pigtail budget to give us a handful of items that they're taking VAT off of. Kamla Prasad, the senator, removed VAT over 7,000 items. That when the PNM came into power, they put it back on. They tell the population, oh, we're taking VAT from 15% down to 12.5%. We are going to save you money. So when people reach the cash register now and realize $100 only buying $80 worth, they ask themselves, well, how this can happen? Do you know why? Because all of those very critical staple items that were VAT-free before, the food that the average man on an average salary would have paid for, flour, all these different things. They put VAT back on many, I can't remember, I don't think flour, sorry, but they put VAT on many of these staple items, right? So it's not that they lower VAT and it was only affecting lobster and strawberry and thing. They added VAT on to over 7,000 items that was previously VAT-free, putting 12.5% onto those things. So they're fooling you. They play smart with foolishness. One second. Let me just they play smart with foolishness to tell you that we're going from 50% down to 12.5%, but then they reintroducing VAT on 7,000 items. Then it comes to us now, boasting in this budget. Oh, look, we're going to take VAT off our biscuit. We're going to take VAT off a ketchup. We're going to take VAT off a pigtail. And then they come and say they're going to take VAT off a curry. And the funny part is there was no VAT on curry to begin with. So they come and say, misprint. Look, we had a misprint. But a handful of items.
Senator, that was a misprint by the newspapers. That wasn't a misprint by the government. Don't
try that. I have it in the budget statement. Don't let me go in my bag and pull it, you know.
Oh, yeah. You gotta send it to me. You gotta send it to me. But also, Senator,
I will take a picture. Yeah, hey, you know something? You get me vexed, you know. I feel I go and find it now.
Wait, because we gotta go. Stay right there. But Senator, I want you to do something else. You said that the government put back VAT on 7,000 items. I want you to send me a copy of those 7,000 items. Because I've seen that circulating far and wide that you guys took off VAT from 7,000 items and the government put back VAT on all 7,000 items. I would like to get a copy of the 7,000 items.
If you didn't know that, you would not be the decision they made in 2015.
Listen. The final thing I'll tell you on the food, right, is that another thing they could have done, which we've seen happen in other places. Now, you have a situation where when you land finished goods, now remember, we still importing over $5 billion in food, right? That's our food import bill, over $5 billion still, right? So we are very dependent on this supply chain you're speaking about. Now, in our duty structure in Trinidad and Tobago, when you land the goods, you are being charged duties and VAT on the CIF value of the goods, right? CIF means cost, insurance, and freight. That freight part, which is the part that is now skyrocketed, right, in the supply chain, you are being charged duties and VAT on these three factors: cost, insurance, and freight. And what the government could have done, instead of staying very quiet and taking advantage of this increased duties they get in from the heightened freight and taking advantage and where the average man has to pay for it now, what they could have done, like what they did in Guyana, for example, is they turned around and said to the importers, send us your FOB, which means freight on board. The cost of your freight. Send us your FOB invoice. And we will take the historical freight before the supply chain is due. Whatever the historical freight from China was, from India, from Pakistan, wherever it was coming from, we will take those historical freight and we will apply that to your FOB invoice, and that is what we will charge you the duties and the VAT on. So therefore, the government was not taking advantage, because what the government is doing is taking advantage of this supply chain debacle, and who has to pay for it is the average citizen, and especially the poor man in the country, right? Thank God, thank God, my income is I have a business. I am able to pay my bills and stuff like that. I can pay all my bills. But what about the man who is unemployed right now? What about the man who is facing a mortgage that he cannot pay? What about the guy who can't pay his car payments? What about the person whose baby is crying for milk and he can't go down by the store to get the milk? And even if he got a little bit of money, he's choosing, should I buy milk or should I buy eggs? Because prices have skyrocketed. Don't you think that a responsible government would have taken the initiative and said, you know what, let us not take advantage of this supply chain situation. Let us do what we've done in other places. Be innovative. Think out of the box how you could help the people. No, you can't study that because you're studying to go Glasgow to tee off in Glen Eagles and play around at 18. That's what you're studying. You're studying $3 million in paintings. You're studying $23 million on a Tobago palace.
Senator, $3 million in painting wasn't years ago, Senator. But anyway, Senator.
Listen, I just telling you, listen, it's so many things. It's so much money.
Years ago, you're giving back stuff from years ago, man.
No. We're spending 600. Okay. Well, let me come to your partner Let me come to your partner at Elbert, where you're spending $600 million on 2 cutlass vessels. That when we check in some other the Australian military paid half the price fit. That 300 million gonna go on. That is recent. What about the $20 million that gone by this we call it when FCB spent on this Beretta business, and we can't get no transparency on that.
Yeah, I understand that one. But Senator, before we go, right, and we're getting ready to close, I want to say one thing, right? The person bring up a valid point, and this is part of the problem that we have in politics in Trinidad, right? Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I don't think you were part of the regime at this point in time. Back then, we had the Brian Lara Stadium, right? And under the UNC, the Brian Lara Stadium was started under the PNM, and under the UNC, they refused to open the Brian Lara Stadium, right, for 5 years. Now, under the PNM did the same thing with the Children's Hospital, which they just recently opened. So what I'm saying to you is that this type of politics, when I start something, right, if I'm in opposition, the ruling party starts something, and if I get into power, I look at it and I say, no, I mean, go and finish that because them start that. We don't want to give them no credit for that. I think that type of politics.
But don't you think, you have a point there, but don't you think the hospital would have been a higher priority than the stadium?
But Gary, all I'm saying is that
better decision than the PNM.
But Gary, the point is this. If they started something, right, something as important as that, whoever come in power should finish it, and they just leave it to get run down. But anyway, we wanna thank Senator Lyda so very kindly for taking the time to join us, Senator. Any closing words before you go?
Well, once again, it was a pleasure being on the program. It's reached a point now where it's almost like family are coming on to visit my family out in the diaspora.
Yeah, family.
My partner Gary, what I love about it is when you're sending out the advertisement as to who's coming on and so on, there's no need to advertise me again because I's family. So Gary just say, hey, we're doing this evening, way up there. Come on now, come and talk with the boys and the girls. And I say, of course, because it's always a pleasure coming on to speak with you on the program. It's amazing to get all the different cross-section of views of all of those who sit on the program I mean, we all have our political affiliations. We all, we all have our preference. Some of us want to bite a balize, others want to put our hope in the rising sun. But at the end of the day, we are all
bite a balize and you use bite the balize and then use hope in the rising sun.
We are all citizens. We are all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. We all have an interest in seeing our beloved country come back from where we are now. We know that Trinidad is in a difficult place. We know that Trinidad and Tobago is in a difficult place. We know that there's a dark cloud over us. Whatever the reasons may be, whether it is political, whether it is economical, whether it is global that is affecting us, whether it's a pandemic, we are all going through very tough times in our country. And it is important that even though we have our political affiliations, that we work in a positive direction and we contribute in a way in which to enrich and enhance our nation and contribute things that will better our nation. It shouldn't be us attacking each other for attacking each other's sake. It is good that we come on this program and have robust conversation, that we have conversation that makes us think, even though I'm on one side, you on the next, we are open to listen to some of the advice, some of the learnings from the past, because only if we understand the mistakes of the past can we chart a way forward to better our country. So that is why I feel very safe coming to this program, because I know, despite our political differences, and with the viewers listening in, despite our political differences, we all have one thing in common, and that is the betterment of Trinidad and Tobago. And so I want to continue urging you, Wall Street, Diane, Gary, there was someone else that was
Tommy.
And Tommy, continue doing the work you guys are doing through the media. I would say to you that the media is the fourth estate. It is one of the most important factors in a democracy. And what we are seeing today is almost a breakdown in that independent institution of our fourth estate. And we're seeing a lopsided view of things. And what we want to see is balanced journalism. We want to see balanced commentary. And in this program, I am safe to say it is very balanced. Everyone has an opportunity to state their point of view. We do it with respect and we do it with love for each other. So thank you guys so much for having me on. And, God bless you all. Keep up the great work. And I look forward to many more evenings sharing with you in this very interesting commentary.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
We want to thank you so very kindly, man. We appreciate all that you come in here and share with us. Thank you so very kindly.
Okay. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Yeah. So, folks, I tell you, it's always a pleasure when we get, and and this is what the program is all about, right? Somehow, Haley, it's Haley boy. Haley's female, right?
I have no idea. Never met them.
I don't know if Haley's female, but Haley boy, Haley throwing some. Haley is Haley or Claudia?
Haley?
Oh yeah, it's Haley. Yeah, Haley said, wall hole, don't try that. What she call me, wall hole, eh?
Oh, Haley talking to you like that?
Haley boy, I'm telling you, boy. I say I'll come back and read this one, boy. Haley, boy.
Wall hole, don't try that.
Yeah. Yeah, but Haley,
you can't be. Everybody have a political affiliation somewhat, but you can't be so drunk on party juice that you don't recognize the truth and the fact. And this is what we see happening in the country. People are so drunk on their party juice that things going wrong, your leader doing wrong thing, and people suffering, and you still supporting that. I cannot tolerate that. I don't care what side you tolerate.
I spoke about the 2013 salaries on my live because my friend Opinion Buck gave me that tidbit. And when I started to look into it, I said, he's right. They haven't gotten any raises from 2013.
Diana Benskin. I want to warn you.
Why you call my name so much time ago?
They didn't talk about it in August 2021. As soon as they get rid of Gary Griffith, they're making it an issue, Diana Benskin. It wasn't an issue in the past 8 years, Diana Benskin.
Yes, it was.
So why come all of a sudden it's an issue in November, but it wasn't an issue in August?
It's an issue because it's money. Money is a motivating or demotivating factor.
There's a breakdown of morals in the police force that's taking place right now.
The nurses are all tired, the civil servant, the nurses, the policemen. I mean, come on, Anselm, common sense.
Diana Benskin.
The people are so frustrated with this government that that's like, it's so frustrated.
I'm worried about you, man. I'm starting to worry.
What are you worried about? Worry about me, huh?
No, just Claudia, boy. No, Haley, boy. Haley. And Haley had some other ones too, you know.
What you worry about me for? I don't support no political party in Trinidad and Tobago.
Wall Street gonna get nightmares tonight again. Why? Little run honor. Boy, listen. All right. Closing comments. Let me see. Nadia and Claudia, can you put closing comments in the chat? Nadia, Claudia, and Clarice. Put closing comments in the chat. We go to Women's Night.
All the ladies.
Nadia,
and Lana here too.
I see Lana in a little bit. Nadia, Claudia, and Clarice. Put closing comments in the chat. Oh, good boy. Boy, you know. What's it? Was it Claudia who said that?
I'm waiting to see the I know it was Diwali's coming up Thursday. I'm waiting to see their Diwali pictures. What they're doing down by them, what was going on in their neck of the woods. I'm waiting to hear.
Who's that?
Well, I want to make. Oh yeah.
We getting Parada? We getting Parada? Daniel making Parada?
Who, me? Nah.
I want to see how much deer they light up in the yard.
Yeah, Maurice Alexander say. But Gary, the breakdown in morality in service was there since 2007. Yeah, I went Parasite too, boy. What is that? I never had that before, you know.
That's how I make with cornmeal, flour, and raisins and all kind. No, I'm not. No, you worried about me, so I'm not making nothing.
Diana, let me do something real quick. Quick. Hold on. I want to do something. I said I was going to do this. Hold on, Let me try this. I got to make a call. Hold on air. Hold on. Okay, no. Let me do this real quick. This person's going to be surprised we calling them. I'm going to call them. Hold on.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, it's good. Because we want to wish him the best.
I'm here, Gary.
I hope he picks up the phone. Hold on. Well, folks, what am I actually trying to do? I'm trying to call Eric. Hey, Eric. You on WZYE 96.9 FM. Yeah. And we are calling you. You are a friend of the program. And we are calling you to wish you condolences to you and your family on the passing of your mother. So we wanted to do this publicly because we just want you to know that we appreciate you. And all of you in the village wish you strength, and perseverance through this tough time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This one going on. Good night, good night, Gary. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, and Tommy's there too.
Tommy, good night.
Good night, Brother Ulrich.
This one is hard. Right now, I'm not in a good place at all. I'm trying to hold on and keep everybody together. It's hard.
Yeah, well, we
the last one I had control. This one, I had control.
Yeah, we just wanted to let you know that we support you full 100, and we want to know that we are praying for you and your family, And we do appreciate you being part of the program, and that's why we decided to that. I mean, the other guys, we just decided to give you a call, to show our appreciation to you and your family.
Yeah, that was nice, man. I started off looking at the program tonight, because I say that I might sort of like take from mine away a little bit.
Yeah, so you're in the program, but you were so deep in it. And just before you go to Ulrich mom just passed away, guys. That's why we have him on the phone.
Wow, his father not too long ago, right?
Yeah. So
sorry, brothers.
I just felt like,
condolences to you. Praying God give you strength.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the call because these kind of calls, I get called from Brother David, I get called from Aisha, I get called from Sharon. These kind of calls really help to build me because I'm seeing what I'm going through here right now, boy. I ain't wishing it for my who saying me because I ain't get over daddy yet, and it's just about 2 months. And now, listen, it's not easy. But still, I thank God for giving me the strength to carry on. And, although I know she had to go someday, I tried preparing for it, but it still came as a shock. I was just outside, we was cleaning her, I prayed with her in the morning. I left home, I reached down there very early. I prayed with her, talked to her, and my sister wanted to sponge off. My daughter and my sister was there, and I decided just to, let me give her some privacy. Let me just step outside before they need any help to do or anything. Just call her right there. And the cleaner, the fixer up and thing, and they called me. And when I thought they was calling me to help to tune her, it's because it is, she was gone. So, boy, honestly, boy, I didn't cry, I bawled like 10,000. I didn't even know I had that in me. I bawled long.
Yeah.
I know she had to go. And, I still wasn't prepared. All the preparation I was putting into to cushion this moment, it was a waste of time. It didn't work.
Yeah, well, look at
a guy on the chat there, he lost his mother, his brother, and somebody else. Boy, I know how you're feeling because I'm experiencing it right now, and my condolences goes out to you and your family.
Yeah, man. We just wanted to see, whatever little kind of sharing we could give you, from our end here, at WZYE 95.9 FM, because we know you are part of the family, and that's what I tell everybody. This program is about is about family, and when things are done, we want to see how we can pick people up. You know what I mean? So that's what we wanted to do, man. We wanted to put you on air too to let people know that, we send our condolences to you and the family, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate you as being part of our program. That's what this call is all about. You consider us family.
I thank you, Tommy, Ms. Diana, everybody. I thank all you because all you giving me strength. I tried to take in the program tonight, but I had to leave halfway.
No, I saw you in there. That's why we was just going to close the program, and I said, no, we can't close the program without me calling you. And I'm glad you pick up the phone too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I fall asleep because from watching the program halfway through, I couldn't take it no more. So, I try and think to just get my brain occupied and like take it away from the situation. Like, so, I fall asleep. But when I hear the phone ringing, I had to answer the phone because, what kind of people calling? I appreciate all the call. I appreciate all the sentiment. You guys in the chat, thank you very much. I appreciate you all. I got all the messages. I read all the messages. Don't mind I didn't answer back some. My eye was too cloudy, so I couldn't see the keys. But I appreciate you guys. And thanks for all the love I get from all you, man. Miss Diana, I like your rose tonight. You.
Thank you.
Rose.
And I know you say like your word rose.
He said he liked my rose. He didn't say red.
I
Hush
thought you
your
say
mouth.
red rose. I thought you say red rose.
Thanks for calling, and you know, everybody have a good night and return safe. And the boy, I will get you, because I'm still thanking God for the strength that He gave to me to be able to carry on in this hard time. So I really appreciate you guys, man.
All right, Ulrich, man. You know, condolences again, man, and stay strong. All right.
Good night, Ulrich,
cool.
and condolences again.
All right.
Anyway, guys, I gotta take another call here, so I'll catch up with you guys.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. So, folks, that's how we do it.
Good night, Gary.
The DAG Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We actually do believe that we have created a family in here, and when some things like this happen, we try to see how we can cheer up Ulrich. And you know, I'm gonna give Ulrich a call tomorrow just to make sure we see how he's doing. And yeah, you know, it's kind of hard, you know. But I mean, that's how it is sometimes. Okay, so Diana, you see any closing comments in the chat?
No, I'm not there. I didn't see any. Ask him again.
No, all right. Yeah, tonight we know you're not good news.
No,
right,
I'm not there.
You know, Frederick Douglass says, power concedes not without a demand. It never did, it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out, or move over here a little bit, you have found out exactly measures of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them, and these will continue until they are resisted with either words or blows or with both. All right. Tommy, closing words?
Solutions will never be realized when we depend on those who created the problem for a resolution to the problem. That's all I have to say tonight. And a pleasant good night to each and everyone.
Okay, I wanted to do something on compassion. Because this is a trait that seems to be lacking in some leaders. Compassion comes from the Latin word compati, which literally means to suffer with. It is more than mere empathy and care. It is the desire to help someone who is suffering and to be able to help that person ease their pain. Compassion, the Dalai Lama said, compassion is the wish to see others free from suffering. Compassion isn't something you're born with. It grows out of considerate behavior. Compassionate leaders should have concern for those that are entrusted to them. Compassionate leaders walk the talk. When you treat people with compassion, those people never forget you. Compassionate leaders regard those entrusted in their care as high priorities. They see these people as an end in themselves. Attitudes are extremely contagious, especially from a leader of a country. To Dr. Rowley, I am asking for some compassion from you as a leader of Trinidad and Tobago for the stranded female citizen of Trinidad who is currently temporarily and uncomfortably domiciled in the region of the world where you are visiting for this climate summit. She is fully vaccinated and just wants to come home. John Holmes said, there's no exercise better for the heart than reaching down and lifting people up. Mary Davis, we can't heal the world today but we can begin with a voice of compassion, a heart of love, an act of kindness. Dr. Rowley, I want to say to you that kindness cannot be quarantined. The late Princess Diana said, and I quote, "Carry out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward, safe in the knowledge that one day someone might do the same for you." Dr. Rowley, please, the young lady has called you. She has sent you her bio information. She has sent you copies of her vaccination card. I will not disclose her name here. I too have called you and I have pleaded with you on a professional and respectable level to please assist this young lady in getting home to her family for the holidays. This is Diana Benskin, aka The Storm, bidding everyone auf Wiedersehen until we meet again. Good night, everybody.
And of course, Clarice says, and Rose, I did see you, Rose. I did see you. Rose, I did see you. Good night, everyone. Clarice Golden Comments says, good night, everyone. Keep safe. It's a great program, a very good show tonight. You all keep safe and enjoy your Diwali, whether you're in Trinidad or abroad. Thank you very kindly, Clarice. And we're going to go to this same song we come in with. We're going to go to that song tonight.